Hello, TMT peers. Molly here. Hope you guys are having an awesome Thursday. Thanks for meeting way earlier than normal. I think we're 6 hours earlier than we normally do this, but Tom and I are both in Europe, so this works great for us. And this is a bonus training, as I told you guys on Tuesday. Of course, it's being recorded. And I just wanted to set the stage really quick before I introduce Tom, which I introduced Tom at the beginning of TMTP, as you guys are familiar with, but just to kind of reintroduce him and set the stage for what you guys can expect today. So in the members area, if it's not already there, it will appear sometime today. You guys will get your regular email for today's training. And that training's pre-recorded. That training is about YouTube ads. It's something that Tom and I recorded a few months ago for you guys. So that's what we were just originally going to give you, and I still think it's great value. But Tom and I chatted and we were like, okay, how can we make this even more actionable? Especially because TMTP is so focused on Facebook ads, and we really need the ability to go deep there to get that working for you guys. But how can we show you not just here's how YouTube advertising works or here's how to use the platform, but how do we take an offer that's worked really well on Facebook, specifically a cold traffic offer, as you guys can see on my screen. You guys are familiar with this offer. It's our 7-day free Facebook class. Most of you went through this free 7-day class before you signed up for TMTP and the mentorship that you are a part of right now. And this is really the offer that I want to use as an example to show you guys, here's how you take an offer from Facebook to YouTube in order to horizontally scale. So this is something new that we've never done before. And we've actually decided, Tom decided, because he's amazing, that this was going to be a two-part event, if you want to call it that. So this first part, this training today, Tom has some slides. He's going to teach a little bit, and we're really going to set the strategy and kind of understand, like, I want to understand as the student, what nuances, like what changes, how do we need to pivot this offer to make it work on YouTube? We know it worked on Facebook, but obviously we're going to have to change it a little bit to fit this completely different traffic platform. So I want to understand that, and then we're just going to come up with a plan for how to pivot this offer over to YouTube, like what tweaks need to be made with the creative. Same thing with the ad copy. Is this landing page still going to work? So kind of go through all of those steps. And then we'll have a little break, a few weeks, where we're able to hopefully build this campaign, or at least build the assets for the campaign that we're going to need. And then we'll meet again with you guys in a few weeks, right before the end of TMTP, for another bonus training where we set up this campaign together and then launch it. So just so you guys know what to expect here, I hope that makes sense. Mr. Tom Breeze, how's it going? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing very well, and yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love the intro. How you're like, this is earlier, but we're both in Europe, so it's good for us.
Thanks for bearing with us. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
say that in the best way, but you know that I usually
I know you
do
usually will.
these trainings at like 10 or 11 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
so
I'm used to
that
kind of like the kids in bed. You might
Australia,
hear,
it works for Australia.
yeah, you might hear like screaming kids in the background,
But
three
there's,
of them. But yeah,
yeah, oh yeah, there are only so many nights a week you can do that. But as I
yeah,
told you guys, in week one when I introduced Tom, Tom's not only just a terrific human, a great friend, someone that I met really early in my career. And Tom, you're just someone that I've looked up to, and not just in the way that obviously you're a brilliant marketer and you're great from the paid traffic side of things, but you really care about people and you're very genuine. And I think that's probably the most important, I mean, what's led you to the success that you've had. And Tom owns an agency that's one of the top YouTube agencies in the entire world. And he mostly operates on a performance-based, I don't know what you call it, pricing structure, I guess, Tom, where
financial
you
model.
guys
Yeah,
pretty,
same thing.
yeah, where you guys pretty much only get paid for the results that you generate, which is such a gutsy move, but it just shows how good you are at this. And I commend you for that. And Tom, you don't know this, but one of the last trainings in TM IMTP is more about how to get clients, maybe how to build an agency if that's what you want to do with your media buying skills. And I use you as an example for, that type of business model or pricing model. So just from what we chatted about. But again, thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna hand the presenter rights over to you, Tom. And yeah, I'm excited for this.
100%. And thank you so much for those lovely words. Like, that's like the best introduction I've had all day. So that was very nice of you.
Oh, you're welcome. And Tom, just so you know, in Slack before this, Ezra said you were beautiful, which is
Oh,
true.
okay.
I said, especially your hair.
I'm sitting here right now. Can I share my video at all? Is that
You
possible?
totally can share your video.
You
Yeah.
know what? I've got my suit on for you. You know that. So I'm not sure if you can see me. There we go. I'm wearing a t-shirt, so I don't have a tie on or anything like that. There you go. But I've got the jacket on. I thought that was pretty good.
You look lovely, Tom. Thanks for dressing up for us.
Only you, Molly. Only you. Okay, cool. I can either keep this on or I can turn it off.
Yeah,
What's easy?
turn it off. The recording usually turns out better without the video. So
Got it. Okay, perfect. Cool. So I'm sharing my screen hopefully, and you can see my
yes,
slides. Okay,
you
cool.
are. So Tom, what do
All
I
right. So
do? What do we do here?
So what I thought would be a good idea would be to say, right, how do we crush it with YouTube ads, and go through the structure that I go through whenever I'm thinking about creating any video for YouTube. And in order to create a good video, you need to know how you're getting it in front of your customers, because it is going to be slightly different on YouTube versus Facebook. And also some of the other benefits of doing this, because I think that once you have like that full
Picture.
what's the word? Yeah, a context almost, to be like, right, what impact is this going to have? You're going to find that like you get this massive halo effect, because if you're advertising on YouTube, you're going to find that if you build an audience of those people like who hit your website from a YouTube ad, you're probably going to be able to do a retargeting kind of offer on Facebook and get ridiculously good results, because all of a sudden you're omnipresent, you're everywhere, and your brand gets this huge uplift. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people look at it as like these completely isolated funnels, but like it really doesn't need to be that way. You can kind of look at it as like this platform can really merge nicely with Facebook, and it's normally us having to merge with current Facebook traffic, but it can be done the other way around, and it can work really, really well.
And Tom, what's interesting, like you look at an offer, and again, guys, this could be maybe you got the butter chicken to work, right? Maybe you're at a point where you're e-commerce and you're driving traffic to the product page and that's working and you're ready to scale. That would still be a time to hop over and test YouTube ads like we're talking about here. Or if you're in a case where you're more in a lead gen situation, like you saw with the 7-day Facebook class, that's an offer, Tom, that we've only used during launch situations. So ads have really only ever gone to that free class for about 20 days ever. And we've generated, almost 50,000 leads with that offer. Now we're about to evergreen it on Facebook because we have a product to sell now that is evergreened. And so we have a reason to do so. We're able to pay for that traffic. And so, I realized that even though the platforms are different, you guys, my students, my possible students, you're spending time on YouTube also. So, I don't really probably have to change much about the offer. It's just understanding the nuances of the platform is kind of what you're saying, Tom. And like, how does that transition work? Because these aren't two completely different funnels. We're not building a funnel for YouTube that's different from Facebook. I'm just taking this offer that I know I know the market wants. And it's like, great, there's this traffic platform over here called YouTube where, I have access to so many more people, and a lot of them are the same too. We're running a promotion right now where most of the cold traffic is coming from Facebook, and then Google and YouTube are really doing most of the heavy lifting when it comes to retargeting. So just wanted to reiterate what you were saying, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there's going to be some offers that lend themselves to YouTube ridiculously well, and some that kind of won't work quite as well. Like I think that as a heads up for people, if you're doing like B2B advertising, you're going to find it a little bit more difficult to get huge success on YouTube. Like, and when I say B2B, I'm kind of talking about like quite bigger B, if that makes sense, like bigger business. It, like some platform where you want to get in front of the head of procurement of a corporate brand, you'd be like, YouTube's not going to be the right platform for you.
Which is
LinkedIn,
the same thing as Facebook, the same thing as Facebook,
Yeah.
even though there's the job title targeting. It's like if you want to reach the few hundred people in the world with this random obscure job title, these
Yeah.
are the platforms for you. But otherwise,
Yeah.
I mean, Tom, you know this, but even Boom as a cosmetic brand, in the last year, I think they've something like tripled their spend on Google and YouTube. And number one, that's because of the opportunity on those platforms, but it's also because their pre-sale article, 5 makeup tips for women over the age of 50, which everybody here is familiar with, that sort of type of content that leads into the sale of a physical product, like that works so well on YouTube if you have the right video. So, I
Yeah.
do think this can work for every business type that's in this class specifically.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. We're going to go into that in just a second because I think that will kind of
Let's
like
do it.
yeah. Okay. Let's just jump in and
We're
we'll get
getting
through it.
excited.
Okay, cool. So how to crush it with YouTube ads. I'm going to take this particular offer, like launch a high performing ad campaign in just 7 days from scratch. And I think that that is a beautiful way of putting like this together for YouTube as well. Like, because there's people already going to YouTube searching for how to run Facebook ads. And this is like a really attractive offer. It's got that scarcity in to be like, this is a launch, like this is launching in just 7 days. It's kind of like, it's got a lot of the pieces you would want to have when you're running from YouTube. So
Awesome.
this is exciting from a YouTube perspective as well. So as this is a very brief intro, it's huge YouTube. It's got over 2 billion users, 5 billion views every single day are being racked up. But the stat that's really important for us is that like the average session duration is over 40 minutes. And that means that people go to YouTube and they're sticking around, they're watching stuff. We get caught in rabbit holes and we find ourselves watching something random that's full of our passion, like something that we're really interested in for ages and ages that we probably wouldn't be watching if it was like a social environment. If we're watching it with somebody else, we wouldn't be watching the same content. So it's a very individual experience that you get on YouTube. And so we kind of go really deep into our passions and what we're interested in. There's a big hidden impact on YouTube that has got such a big feature to it when it comes to any advertising. And this is kind of that halo effect I was talking about earlier. So with us, if we see that, if we look at YouTube, it's like kind of like the closest thing we've got to TV online. It's where we go to watch video. YouTube can now be found on most smart TVs. We can be watching something on our mobile device, press one button, and immediately it's showing on our TV. It's getting more and more close to TV, and we can start using it more like that on a regular basis as well. And there's like TV type channels on YouTube as well for things like sport and things. But we, as individuals, are starting to make that mental shortcut in our mind of saying, well, if we see YouTube as more like TV, our shortcut is, well, if someone is going to this length of advertising on TV or on YouTube, if they go to that length, they must be good. Like if we watch someone advertise, like a brand advertise on TV, our gut kind of thing is like, well, they're on TV, they must be pretty good. We just make that shortcut and we think that about that brand. And so it takes your brand a long way when you're advertising on YouTube.
Tom, it's almost like a credibility thing because I'd never thought of it this way, but I do think that even as like, a hardcore marketer who understands how these things work, when I do see a brand on TV, I'm at least like, wow, they have a lot of money to advertise.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I think this is what you're saying, but there's like, yeah, it does feel a lot more legit than, let's say, maybe an ad on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that it's kind of, it carries with it a level of credibility and authentic and strength to it. It's like I always encourage people, if they've got a community that they've built and a community that can either be on a Zoom call or like, and you can take a picture of everybody there, or like we have a client who teaches guitar and he gets people together and has like 400 people get together and play guitar together and things. It must be such a cacophony of noise going on with those workshops.
Yeah.
But when you see that and you see him teaching loads of people on guitar, it's just a 1 second, 2 second clip, but our brain goes to a place where, okay, he's built a community of people that love him, and they seem to be liking his stuff. They're wearing his merchandise. And you see it all in the space of 2 seconds. but immediately we think this is a brand that can be trusted. They've gone to that length to build a community, and a community that love them. That can't be faked. They must be a good brand. Their products must be good. We make all those mental shortcuts immediately from a 2-second clip. So you kind of want to showcase that as much as possible. Like Molly, if you do, like we're talking about your ads, if you do a Zoom call and like, everybody's on that Zoom call, and you take a picture of, or you take a little clip of it, you want to showcase that, because that means that you've seen, like you've been there with your students or your members or whatever. But like if you're showing that and they're having fun and they're getting great results and they're kind of jumping on Zoom calls and you can see all the faces there, that'll go a huge way very, very quickly if you just showcase that very, very quickly. Because people say, I want to be part of that community. I want to feel belonging to that group. So it's pretty cool. All right, so I've been advertising online for 13 years. I run an agency called Viewability, as Molly was saying. A 7th year running just purely on YouTube. So we don't really touch any other platform at scale. We do some Google stuff and things, but YouTube is our area of expertise. But we're a performance-based YouTube ad agency. So as Molly was saying earlier, I think that's the only and best way of running an agency, personally. But I know that I'm biased to it, so I don't want to like say it's the.
You're the only one that I know, and I love you for it.
Okay, cool.
It means so it means that you can actually do what you say you do. Like I think it's such a brave and genuine way to run a business. So
yeah. Or I'm bankrupt, one of the two. Yes. So the way that I do it is I spend the money and then clients pay for results, be it on a lead or sale basis. So it really feels much more like a partnership when we work with our clients, as opposed to like we're an agency, we promise to do this for you and dedicate this much time to you, and we'll get 10% of your ad spend, and that type of scenario where we're incentivized to spend more of your money. In this scenario, we're like, no, we're happy to pool all of our resources in, not get paid for it until you start getting results, because in the long run, we should make more money as an agency, but you'll make so much more money because we've got our eyes on you 24/7. And we're not just doing our job, we're actually committing properly to this. We're all in with our clients. And so as a way of like building an agency, it's just beautiful, because the more work you put in, the better result you get, and the client loves you as well, and you grow together. It carries a tiny bit more risk. It sounds like it's really risky, but it's really not. But it's a great way of acquiring customers as well, because as soon as people hear that we do performance-based, they make that heuristic, that mental shortcut of like, oh, you must be good. And I love it when people think that. So yeah, it's easy marketing, which is cool. But there's 3 areas that when I focus on YouTube: customer targeting, video creative, and the perfect offer. Now, perfect offer, I think you've already got that, and I don't want to change the rules at all on like you having to think like, oh, I've got to do things in a completely brand new way for YouTube. There is advantages sometimes to appreciate the platform and tweak things to the offer to make it fit more elegantly with the platform. But the way that I'm going to show you in this is like we don't need to make any changes, which is useful. And this is what happens most of the time with our clients. They come to us and they say, we're killing it with Facebook, now we want to get YouTube to work. And that's 99% of the time what's happening. And no one likes to say, oh, we're going to change everything you're doing. It's like, no, just stick with what you got. Let's just
at least to test
2 bits right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So customer targeting, like there's so many ways of getting in front of your customers. You've got remarketing, pretty much identical to retargeting. And I think it's always a good idea to say anyone who hits your sales page or checkout page that doesn't buy, build an audience of those people and get back in front of them. That's a relatively obvious one to like go for, a low-hanging fruit. But I'm never a fan of starting there, because I want to try and crack the cold traffic on YouTube.
Right.
That's the bit that's going to scale. So,
and Tom, we're already, really quick guys, we're already remarketing, at least with Google Display, for people who have visited our site. So we're that far ahead here.
Nice.
Yeah, I would really love to. And Tom, I don't think I've shown you, I know we'll get here, but it's going to be so cool to look at the cold targeting that has worked for this offer so far on Facebook, which everybody on this call has gone deep with me on interest targeting. It will be cool to see how that kind of translates to YouTube. And also, guys, if you're live and you have any questions or you just want to say hi, pop in the questions box, because I'm not the one doing the teaching today, so I'm John. I'm in the questions box.
Nice. So with remarketing, you can do ridiculously powerful things on YouTube. Like, but those are the ones where it's like you can be a little bit more friendly and familiar with your audience because they would have known who you are already. You'll have like, so Molly, you've got quite a big brand on Facebook already in the marketing community, and so you've got kind of a bit of a leg up on Facebook already. Like, there's that social proof element that's built into the platform itself. With YouTube, I'm not sure how active you've been on YouTube, but it's you very rarely have that kind of that leg up, so to speak. It's more difficult to build that brand. So a big marketer I was talking to this morning had said, oh, here's my plan, what I'm doing on Facebook, and it's I'm doing like a free plus shipping book offer and then upselling and all that sort of stuff. And they're like, will it work on YouTube? And I was like, yeah, it probably will do.
Sorry, I just don't think books are, never mind. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so there's reservations anyway with that type of promotion, sure. But I was like saying from YouTube, it's like, this is like a relatively big name in the marketing world. And I was like, look, you're not gonna have the social proof element going on already that's built into the Facebook platform for you. YouTube, like no one has a clue who you are just yet. They might know you, Molly, because you're just beautiful and lovely and everything like that. But it's a new market typically for most people when they get into it. And so when you think about that, it's not like you might find it's a harder platform to crack, but I'm going to break it down so it's easier. But
okay. And once you do, it's like,
right.
I love what you're saying. This is a huge shift, guys, because I would say if you transcribe the 60+ hours of TMTP content, the most frequently used word would probably, or 2 words would be social proof.
Right,
And
okay, yeah.
that's because of how Facebook works. It is a social media platform, and the advertisers who are able to aggregate the most social proof are usually those that do the best. And Tom's right, like a reason, and this is one thing that I do love about more influencer personality type businesses, and it's a big reason that Ezra and I decided to partner together to bring 2 influencer businesses together, was because you do tend to aggregate more social proof than, like, for example, when I was at DM and I would run ads from Digital Marketer, the brand, versus Ryan Deiss, we would get very different results because people like to connect with people. Now, it doesn't mean that brands still can't get great results to cold traffic. You guys have seen that throughout this entire class. But I think that is a big shift to where YouTube, I mean, yeah, there's liking and thumbs down. I don't know exactly what it's called on YouTube. Like, I know there are mechanisms like time watched, and I'm sure comments, like there are things that tell YouTube this is a good video or this is not a good video, but it's very different from the reliance on social proof that we see on a platform like Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
And so Tom's basically saying, like, it might not be as easy for me initially on YouTube to crack the code, but I think once we do, it's like, of course, that volume of traffic, like that access to this platform is completely worth it, but it might take a few iterations, especially because these people don't know me. And, the people, there won't be, past customers and friends hopping in and saying like, Molly's great, learn from her. This doesn't really work that way, I guess is what you're saying, Tom.
Yeah, precisely. Like if someone's like, if there's a product being advertised on Facebook and I see their advert, before I go and buy, I'll look at the comments and see what people have to say. And if anything's negative, saying like, oh, I bought this and it never turned up, or I bought this and it didn't work, or whatever, I'm finished there, so to speak. Or if they say, this is amazing, I love this, it's like, okay, cool, I'm much more likely to go and engage now. Whereas YouTube, you don't get any of that. Like, you've simply got a video that's running, and you can have comments, but no one looks at them. Very rarely do people look at them, and so you don't even have the text around a video either. It's not like you've got text above that you can read and comments below and all that sort of stuff. It's just purely, here's an ad. It's like a TV ad sort of thing. It's lack of engagement and stuff. So
And
yeah,
Tom, I can already tell, I know we'll get to this, but in module 2 or module 1, I can't remember which one, we gave you guys a bonus video that went through all the specifics of this 7-day offer and the different ads that we've run. And if you guys remember, most of those creatives are videos of me waving at the camera or doing something that, catches someone's attention to make them aware of the offer. And so I'm already seeing what you're building up to here, Tom. Like, I think the creatives are going to need to change.
hence the
So,
call. Hence the call.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go more into the depth of like what's possible on YouTube, because with YouTube itself, you've got kind of placement targeting, and this is the sort of targeting where you're choosing individual videos that you want your ad to appear in front of. So you can be really prescriptive and say, I want my ad, like my pre-roll ad, to run in front of this video here. And you can literally choose the URL of the video. I love doing this. Not necessarily for the scale. It's not going to give you huge scale. It can get you to like $200, $300 a day quite comfortably, but your return on ad spend is going to be ridiculously good because you can be so granular. You can literally, let's say, for example, you've got 1,000 URLs, of which 250 might be showing ads, of which 100 might actually work for you. Great, that means 1 in 10 videos that you pulled in work for you. But guess what? They're kind of evergreen. They're just there. Like whenever someone watches that video, they're going to see your ad. And it's like if it's the very relevant video, your ad's going to appear in front of people. So I love placement targeting. And also you don't have to go just for the search. You can be like, for people who are watching videos like this sort of stuff, you can go into people's channels and scrape out all of their videos and say, I want my ads to run in front of those videos there. So you can be really specific, which is really cool. I love placement targeting. Not scaling like that well, but gives you intel because it also shows you what titles of videos people were wanting to watch when they saw your ad and then made a purchase with you or opted in or whatever. It means that you can kind of start to read those titles of those videos and be like, I see, this is what people are typing in, this is what people are watching. Like, it gives you really good information.
That's great research, it sounds like.
Oh, huge. It's just, it opens everything up. Like we had a client in the public speaking space and we saw they had like really good results with videos about meditation. And we're like, meditation, that's weird. Then I didn't ever think of it. Grabbed loads more videos about meditation, used meditation as a keyword, and all of a sudden just blew up this whole account. And we're like, oh, right, okay. It sounds like people into meditation also want to do public speaking. I couldn't really tie it together, but I wasn't really too caring about that. I'm like, just follow the data, just see what it says and just go with it. So yeah, so you can get some amazing results. Now, keywords is a really great way of targeting people as well. So this is like people go to Google or YouTube, type in keywords, and it's almost like those keywords get tagged to people. So then if you're using a keyword, you can get in front of those people that have recently been searching those keywords. So here's an example, like someone might type in things like how to get my baby to sleep. You can see the titles of the videos are somewhat relevant. It's not like Google where it'd be like very semantic based. It's like very like the text is pretty much identical. Here it's like contextual. So it's like, okay, yeah, we know kind of the content you want. But if you look at the third video down there, which is like lullabies for babies, I wouldn't have thought of lullabies, but it makes sense. And it's like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, lullabies. Didn't think of that. That's what people actually want to watch on YouTube, and it's 8 hours long, so the kid can listen to it and hopefully fall asleep. They're probably going to see my ads at some point. I'm probably advertising to kids here trying to fall asleep and listen to lullabies, but so be it. I've got some stuff to sell. But you get the point here. So it's like the search terms and the videos that come up are contextual. And if someone's typing in how to get my baby to sleep and clicks one of these videos and you've got those types of keywords, you're probably going to get in front of this audience, which is really cool. So again, very, very specific here.
Awesome.
Now this is a really cool one, custom intent. Now, custom intent is where you're saying, can you build, like you're saying to Google, please build me an audience of people that are typing in and searching for these types of things. So it's not like they had to have typed it in recently. It's more that they are falling into that category of people that are likely to type those things in. So it's a Google built audience that you are defining yourself. So I think of this as in two ways. One is like the best keywords you've got, the best performing keywords you've got, stick them in and build a custom intent audience. Good idea to do that, because you might just find like it's a bigger audience of all the people that are
This is kind
typing
of
that type of
similar
stuff in.
to interest targeting, Tom. But what's so cool, YouTube and Google has very different data, of course, than Facebook does, where people take, um, uh, I don't know exactly what to call it, but the action of actually searching for something. I mean, of course, you search for names or pages on Facebook, but um, there's yeah, just so much more search activity happening on Google and YouTube, which in my opinion is much better data to have in terms of what type of purchasing decision that person might make or they might not make versus, I know that I'm going to target someone that likes Amy Porterfield, and that tells me that they might be interested in online marketing. But that's very different from someone going in and actually searching Google or YouTube for email marketing tips. So, yeah,
Yeah.
really cool.
It's always Amy Porterfield, I find, but she's brilliant. I love her so much. But
Yeah.
custom intent audiences are so cool. Like, so at the higher end of this, you can scale one custom intent audience probably to around about $10,000 to $15,000 a day. It's that good in terms of how much you can scale these, because if you think about like, right, you've got your best keyword one and you build a custom intent audience like that. The other one I tend to try and build is what we call in the agency like a day in the life of. So let's say, for example, we're looking to get in front of Facebook advertisers for your offer, right, Molly?
Mhm.
And they might just
What are
be
they searching
online
throughout the
advertising
day?
marketers. Yeah, it's like, where are they going? What does that type of person do? Like, where do they go to search? Like, they'd be probably typing in things like they might want to log in to, or Facebook would be one of them, of course, and Facebook Ad Manager and things like that. But what about, they might be typing in things like Infusionsoft potentially, or it
Mhm.
could be
Email marketing or,
yeah,
anything to do with digital marketing.
SEO tips, and yeah, exactly, anything around like like it depends on who you're trying to get in front of. Is it an ad buyer, or is it a marketer or a social media manager, or is it could be everybody? But it's really thinking through like, what would the day look like for them? Like, what would they be if you could like grab a week's worth
Yeah.
of searches they've made on Google? Which ones would be like, that's kind of an indication that that's kind of my type of person? Just grab all of them, like
Yeah. I love
Active
that thinking.
Campaign, something.
I love that thinking, Tom. And in the targeting and avatar training here, Russ and I walked the students through a really deep process for getting, kind of into the psyche of your avatar. So I think that
Nice.
everybody really understands their avatar or their multiple avatars. And like, this is telling me that, wow, now there's a lot more we can do with that information, guys. And even
Yeah.
thinking about, things that they would type into Google or Amazon. Obviously, what I'm teaching is more of how to research places that they're hanging out on the internet, because that more so relates to Facebook interests. But, you're thinking more like, what are they searching?
Yeah, what are they looking for? And it's not even search, like it doesn't have to be, we don't have to wait until they search Facebook ads, because this is an offer that we can
Right.
be interest based like as well. So it's like they typed in, what's my Active Campaign login? Now, only marketers are going to have access to the Active Campaign login. Like, it's not going to be like the head of accounting is going to go in there and start doing some stuff. So you can kind of like, if you think about who your audience are and they're kind of typing in stuff, you think, okay, cool, it's these types of things. You're trying to build like a persona of search for Google, and so they can say, oh yeah, we've got loads of people like that, and like, great, give me them. That's what I want. So custom intent is really cool. You've also got topics. Now, the second line here that we'll go through, you really want to make sure you've got good data in your account already, because if you've got good data, and I mean like 500 conversions, and that could be leads or sales, like, so not huge numbers, but you just want to have some momentum and give Google some data into their pixels so they can get it seasoned up like you would do on Facebook, I'm sure. But as soon as you start getting that content and that data in, then you can start to apply the machine learning with things like topics, which is like topics of content that people are looking for on YouTube that can work really well and scale very aggressively. You've also got similar audiences, which are just like lookalike audiences. They're built in much the same way. It's just there's nuances that are different, so you don't get the percentages like you do on Facebook, but anything that you're tracking or any data points that Google can collect, they'll just automatically build you similar audiences to that, so you can kind of use that and test them out. You also have in-market audiences, which is where it's kind of like a search audience, but it's behavioral change in the last 7 to 14 days. So what I mean by that is, like, I don't often go and research the best holidays in the Bahamas or something along those lines. It's not something I go and do. But if I'm about to go on holiday, I'm going to go and do that like loads. I'm going to go and, like, where's the best place to stay? Where do I get a car? And how do I get the best flights and all that sort of stuff. As soon as I start Googling that type of thing, Google know not only when I'm going, what I'm doing, what level of class I'm flying. Yeah, they know everything about me at that point, and I'll fall into an in-market audience of people traveling to the Bahamas and that type of thing. Or if I'm looking for a TV, for example, I'm not normally searching TVs, but if I do start searching, they know I'm wanting to buy a TV, and I fall into an in-market audience again. So
yeah, Tom, it's
crazy.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I almost exclusively use Google Flights as, means to at least find the flight that I want to book. And it's crazy to, obviously not right now, but especially when we're in heavy travel season, it's crazy to look at the ads I'm getting because they're so focused around my travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're getting advertised by like car rental companies, and like Hertz and Avis are kind of going big on you and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, you get it.
Clothing for women that travel, and different luggage and apps and
yeah, exactly. Interesting. And like, so there's loads here in the baby space as well, like, so baby products and things. Like, I know that some of your customers might be doing that. Like, it is crazy amounts. Like, if you've got a newborn baby, you are searching like bananas on Google. Like, how on earth do I deal with this thing? I mean, we've got 3 kids and we're still using Google to help us out with raising our kids. It's like Google is our third parent in our relationship.
Google, get the baby to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without showing it any more of my YouTube ads. Yeah. And then you have affinity audiences. So, and there's other audiences around, but these are the main ones. Now, affinity audiences, like predefined audiences on Google that you can select which ones you like the look of, and you can test them out, and there's quite a few of them as well. They can work really, really well, especially if the machine learning's dialed in. That can really help you. But the big play here is the custom affinity audiences. Now, you can build custom affinity audiences rather like how you build custom intent audiences, but instead of it being about intent, it's actually based on people's affinities, so things they're interested in on a regular basis. So, like, unlike in-market audiences, which is like for the last 7 to 14 days I've been interested in travel, this is affinity audiences, like people that love travel and then don't stop searching about it. Maybe they travel all the time, or maybe they kind of just love planes. I don't know, whatever it might be. But let's say, for example, you wanted to get in front of people with a shared common interest, like surfers, for example. There's probably going to be a surfing affinity audience. If there's not, you can build one for yourself. Now, when you build them, it's crazy cool. So you have 4 types of ways of building them, and you can mix and match as well. So you've got URLs, which is a good one. So it's going to only be the root domain, so it can't be like a page on Facebook before you get all excited. So it'd be like facebook.com, for example.
No, you would have to own very much like Facebook. Or
yeah, okay, cool. But let's say, for example, there's certain blogs that are dedicated to that content, or clothing companies that are dedicated to that content, like surfing, for example. Like, sometimes there's people that sell everything to do with surfing and it's just surfing. It's like, great, that's my audience. Then you can use their URL and say, right, if people are
their URL.
Yeah, wow. It's like having a remarketing pixel on someone else's website. That's the way I think about it.
Wow. Wow.
So it's quite cool. Yeah. So you can lump in all the best websites that you think would be relevant for you. But it's not just websites. So you can type in by interest. So you literally just type in the words like, okay, surfers. You can just click that and enter it, and Google kind of know what you want, which is pretty cool. So you can just type in almost like keywords for your audiences. So that's 2 of them. The next one you can do is places, and that's where, based on people, where they go. So that's pretty cool. So I didn't realize until yesterday that Waze, the app on your phone, if you're kind of driving somewhere, it kind of teaches you, well, it shows you where to go, was bought by Google back in 2013. And I was like, so that's how they get all my data. Like they've got Google Maps and all the rest of it as well. But it's amazing that like Google can get all that information from us as well, like where we're going and what time we'll arrive there and all that sort of stuff. But they've got all this data on us constantly. And so if you've got certain apps on your phone, you can, if you're going to certain places, then like golf clubs, for example, you would fall into that affinity audience that you've defined, so to speak. So if, like say, for example, you want to get in front of golfers, you can say, right, if they go to this particular golf club or any golf club, then I want you to build them and put them into this affinity audience for me, which is pretty clever. And another one you can do is based on people's apps on their phones. So you can say, right, if certain people have a certain type of app on their phone, I want to put them into my affinity audience as well. So you've got 4 different ways of doing it. You can grab them all together. Does Facebook have like I know it has an app, but for Facebook, that wouldn't really help you, but does it have a business account manager app, Facebook?
So there's an ads manager app, but you can only do basic things through the app, like increase budget and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay. But do you have it on your phone?
Yeah, I do have it on my phone.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So chances are like ad buyers will probably have that app on their phone, even though it's not that
Uh-huh.
useful, for example, but they'll probably
Oh,
still
but
have
we
it on
can
their phone.
target people. That's brilliant. So we could put that, we could target people who have the ads manager app with the 7-day offer.
I believe so. Yeah. I haven't done it before, but I believe you could do that. Yeah. Which is pretty cool, huh?
Wow, that's
Um,
cool. And it's just, it's so interesting, Tom. Like it's becoming even more evident. I would say Facebook and Google both, they both acquire data that's equally important, let's say, but it's so different. Like Google's is so much more invasive. I say that in a good way. I don't mean that in a negative way, but yeah, so much more invasive into someone's personal life because of the
yeah.
shopping, because of Gmail, because of Google Calendar, whereas Facebook's a little bit more invasive in like our social life, or maybe let's think of it like our hobbies and definitely our shopping activity and any site that has the Facebook pixel. But yeah, that's interesting. I had no idea you could target people who are using certain apps.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that like, when Zuckerberg was up there in front of the court being grilled and stuff, it's like, it's only because there's one person we can point the finger at. If it was one person for Google, they'll be getting the same treatment, I'm sure.
I think I messaged you around when that happened, and I was like, Zuckerberg's taking the fall for you too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, cool. Yeah, everyone hates Facebook right now. Haha. We're doing exactly the same thing over here on YouTube and Google. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So the reason I kind of wanted to give you all of this is because the way I think about like exactly what you've been saying here, how we collect the information, what we can sometimes miss is like the person behind all of this. Like we just think it's data, we've got people and we're going to advertise to them and stuff. But their psychology and their mindset is going to be so different. So I look at this in 3 different types of human, so to speak. So let's say, for example, you had a physical store and you have 3 types of customer with a physical store. You have people outside who have stopped outside your window. They were walking, they didn't know you existed, and they kind of saw your shop and they looked through the window and they're like, yeah, you sell the sort of stuff I'm into. This is cool. I've never seen your shop before. Those would be window shoppers, not looking for you, saw you and interested, sort of thing, like lowest level of like ready to buy, but they're more warm than a cold person who wasn't interested in you, so to speak. But that's a window shopper. Then you get the in-store shoppers, those people that have come into the shop now or come into the store now and want to talk to your rep about some of the products, haven't made a decision yet, just want to know more information, doing their research. Hopefully someone can help them. And if they see something that they like, they'll probably buy it. And then you have like the checkout shopper who's found the product they like, they've gone to the checkout and they're thinking, yeah, I'm ready to make this purchase. I just have a couple more questions, like what's the guarantee again, and how much is it again? Okay, perfect. And yeah, and you're going to install this, help me install this myself? Cool, great. Okay, yeah, I'm ready to buy. So they just wanted those last few convincing questions answered. Now, when you break it out like this, what you end up finding is that like actual targeting types fall into different psychologies. Now, if I was to talk about this being like top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, people forget about the user and the person behind all of this. Whereas if you think about it like, right, the similar audiences, in-market audiences and affinity audiences are going to be much more like your Facebook type audiences because they're interest-based. They don't necessarily know who you are yet. They're not necessarily looking for you, but if they see your ad and you do a good ad, chances are their ears are going to prick up, they're ready to listen in. Then in the middle section, you've got the in-store shopper. Those people are already kind of doing their research. They're already looking. And it means that if we're using custom intent, placement, keywords, or topics, they're already looking at that content. Like they want to learn how to do the best Facebook ads they can, and how do they get the best results, or how do they increase their return on investment, or ROAS, or increase their scale. They're kind of looking up exactly what we have in mind for them, or what the offer is. And then you've got the remarketing people that already know who you are, much like Facebook. So that one's pretty much self-explanatory, but they know who you are. You can be a bit more friendly with those people. It's not completely cold, etc. But as soon as we do this, and we know this, it just plays into how we might like to advertise. Because with the affinity audience and in-market and similar audiences, window shoppers, it might be a good idea, like you talked about earlier with Ezra and Boom by Cindy Joseph, when they did the pre-sale page. It may be that this is the best audience to send them through a pre-sale page. So it may be like you could do a case study of one of your best students, Molly, perhaps, showcase like, hey, look at how this company blow up their Facebook ads and got ridiculously good results. Now you could do this all inside of one ad. And so you can say, look at this amazing case study and this amazing result. You showcase that, and then you say, they followed a methodology to get there called this. And that's been introduced by Smart Marketer. And it's in their program, Train My Traffic Person. So you're starting with that kind of big shiny object that makes people go, oh yeah, I'm interested in this, like the window shoppers would be, type thing. And you're kind of pulling them in store, and then you're teaching them more about what it is, or how they got those results. So because you've got them interested in that to begin with.
Versus where on Facebook, I could just go a little bit more, hey, I've got this free class. You're kind of saying, how about let's lead maybe with the hook of a case study, and I could use Boom or any of my clients as an example, or maybe I could even lead, Tom, with some of the biggest pain points that I know Facebook advertisers have too. That could be another route that might work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so if you were to do a poll of all the people that have bought Train My Traffic Person, what's like the biggest thing they want out of it? Like, what's the biggest like result that they'll be like, this is I'm so glad I did this? What would be like the main thing they want?
Consistent and profitable scale through Facebook advertising to scale their businesses or their clients' businesses.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So that's the case study that I'll go with. Like, I'll be like,
yeah,
look how this company was able to scale consistently, reliably, and they've been scaling like crazy for the last 3 years. Let's if you want to like peek behind the curtain of exactly how they do it, like that's what I'm going to show you right now, type thing.
You know what's interesting, Tom? We actually have a pre-sale article that's being written right now because Boom had its best Q1 ever. And a big reason for that was this really successful Facebook campaign where we spent like 1.5 million and the return was 2.8, generated 36,000 new customers at profit. And we only had to turn it down because of supply issues with COVID. So that case study is even being written out right now. And it's something that's going to be a pre-sale article for a new product, actually an ambassador blueprint, which everybody in TMTP is going to get for free, as we talked about in the call on Tuesday. But I just wanted to throw that out there because that could be a good case study to use, or just an idea here.
Nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, and you might want to even just turn it into an ad, like just talk about it in the ad itself, like make it a long ad.
Yeah, like basically just like me not read the pre-sale article, but like it's the same concept. I already have a Google Doc, the copywriters just finished it. We open with the results, then I can break down, just I don't have to go into crazy detail like I would if I was teaching, TMTP, but kind of just walk through the highlights. Like, is that something that would be interesting?
Well, I'll show you exactly how to structure in a second.
All right. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, but like,
By the way,
but this is the thing, is that I want people
enjoying this, so thank you.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Like I think that the thing that is really important here is to be like, right, if I'm going to get in front of a window shopper, I need to break their pattern to be like you would do if like so I worked at a kitchen. I worked in a kitchen at a restaurant for just under a year. And this is when I was like 18, 19. And one of
I
our
didn't know this
chefs,
about
because yeah, I learned how to cook under a Michelin-starred chef. It was amazing. So I do all the
you.
cooking at home
Wow.
now. I look at cooking very much like advertising. It's weird, but anyway. So we have one of the Italian staff in the kitchen who's like, well, all Italians tend to be quite flamboyant and kind of crazy and mad and all that sort of stuff, like especially chefs.
The best
Um,
humans on earth.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and sometimes the most
Or
dangerous
I
when they've
would
got a
say
knife in their hand.
they live the most.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then and so we were really short on
You know
staff
that I
one
lived
evening.
in Italy for a year, so I just wanted to add that context. And it was, yeah, I just
Yeah.
love being around Italians.
So we were really short on staff on the front of house for I think like two people called in sick. It was like a smallish restaurant, and so he said, "Oh, look, like if they're not going to be that busy, then I'll come in. I'll come and work out the front." And so he came and work out front, and like it was the best evening I think we've had to date. Like because he went out the front and he would just like grab people off the street and just bring them in basically. They weren't even hungry, and he was bringing them in and said, "No, it doesn't matter about that. Come in. We're going to serve you the best food you've ever tasted in your life," and all that sort of stuff. Sat them down. We had like the happiest customers in the world, but they weren't even looking for what it is we had. So you need that kind of go out there and
Uh-huh.
grab them and bring them in. And before they know it, they're like, "This food is amazing. We're definitely coming back," and all that sort of stuff. And so you need that to begin with to like take people from not wanting food to now willing to kind of like, okay, if it's that good, serve it up, I'll pay for it. And then they're like, oh my God, it's actually really, really good. So
Mhm.
it's like grabbing them in, but you don't need, it'd be weird to do that for someone who's come into the restaurant who already has a booking and they're kind of like, like you're like, come in, like, it
This
doesn't
is
matter
too
if you're not
much.
hungry. Yeah, it's like, whoa, chill out for a second. I'm coming in there anyway. Um, so it was just, we then started
That's a
adopting that
great
approach much
analogy.
more. Yeah, so it's kind of just um, put it in the right context. So like if you wanted to say, look at this amazing case study, that's going to work really well with probably both people, window shoppers and in-store shoppers. But if you wanted to test it out, you might say, right, well, you're probably going to need more of an attention grabbing start with the window shoppers. But for the in-store shoppers, you can just start with like, hey, if you want to really master Facebook ads, I can definitely
Mhm.
help you type thing. Like you can start with kind of quite a normal, straightforward intro without having to grab their attention because their intent is already there, which helps.
Yeah, makes perfect
So
sense.
all right, so let's get it back down into the video creative then, because now we know kind of how to get in front of our customers and the types of ways you can do it. I want to get into the video
Yeah, Tom,
creative. Now,
we just got a question from Teresa, and she said, Molly, you've talked a lot about looking very native on Facebook and Instagram, and is that the case for YouTube? So, Teresa, this is what Tom's about to dive into that.
yeah, so by native you mean like making the ad look like the landing page, look like the kind of like feel like part of the platform type thing, do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously congruency in the experience, but also that it is native, that it fits into the Facebook and Instagram platform. Like back in the day, especially, and still today, you see advertisers where the ads look so much like an ad. Like they're really
Yeah.
polished, and the ad copy is like, just professional, very, very, very marketing, right? And it's funny because that's actually not what works, because that doesn't generate social proof. So, it's everything that it's ads that look like they belong. And a lot of times that's, using your iPhone. It's why that campaign that I just told you with Boom that was so successful, a big reason that was successful was because Boom had access to creatives they had never had access to before. And those came through an ambassador program that they set up at the end of last year. And basically what they were able to do is reach out to micro influencers and give them free product in exchange for these videos that, they sent them a nice little webcam. So it was high quality, but it's like these women shot them at their desk or at their bathroom counter and did just like a very genuine, authentic demo of the product and talked about why they liked it. And these creatives just took off because it wasn't
Mhm.
just Cindy Joseph, who was a model, like one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, who could sell the product better than anybody. It wasn't just Cindy that worked, but unfortunately she passed away. And women, people want to see people that look like them. So a lot of women would look at Cindy and say, well, of course you like this makeup. You're already a supermodel. But if you start to see yourself represented in the ad creative, and if you, yeah, I'm going deep into it, but I think you get what I'm saying, Tom.
Yeah, I get it. I think it will depend on your customer. Like I
Well,
I
and it's
always try
less
and think.
important on YouTube because the play here isn't a social proof play. The reason is
Mm,
people are used to scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and seeing pictures of their sister's kids and their friend graduating from college, and all of these images and all of this written text from people that they know, and they're used to reacting to that, to commenting on that, to sharing. Like, we are trained to do that. So if you see an ad that looks like an ad, you're probably not going to have that reaction. If you see an ad that looks like a post that you're used to engaging with, you're more likely to take that action. Where YouTube is just different. That's not as important. So I'm sure you'll get into that, but yeah, I just wanted to explain that a little bit more.
yeah, exactly. No, I think that this comes back to like the store idea as well. Like this is built into it. Like if you had your physical store, how would you have that laid out? Like what would you make it look like? So there's a store in Reigate, which is where I'm based in the UK, called well, it's not just in Reigate, but it's called Jo Malone. I don't know if you have it in the States. Do you have Jo Malone? Like a perfume
I don't
um,
think so.
store. Okay, so it's like a high-end ish kind of perfume store. So you go in there, and everything's beautiful, everything's laid out lovely. And it's almost like you need to be cool to be in there. Like not cool young, but like it's probably like it's catered to like a 30 to 50-year-old female. And it's just classy. It looks really cool. Something the packaging's beautiful, the lighting and the shop's beautiful. You kind of want to have that brand consistency there somewhat because that's kind of what you're expecting. If you have those types of people showcasing and being like, you had like some videos from influencers and stuff, I'm not sure how that it would have to be done in the right way. Like you see this on Google quite a bit, where it's like handheld cameras from people. Or Apple do this, where it's like handheld cameras and people experiencing the use of the phone or the use of the products, and it looks really, really good. But it still fits within the brand parameters. But if you were to, like, let's say for example, someone was selling the iPhone, you would want it to look classy. You would want it to look like, oh
Of
shit,
course,
that's a
of
cool
course.
thing.
And I think
Um,
there's still a way to do that. Like, Tom, a good example of this, I saw an ad from Chanel yesterday in my newsfeed, in my Facebook newsfeed, and the creative, it looked like a drawing from a kid, like I think it was. And I stopped because I thought it was one of my friends who was posting a drawing that her son made. And I think it's because she was right above this ad. And it was, done in marker, again, very much looked like a kid drawing, and it was of a perfume bottle, and it said like happy birthday or happy Mother's Day mommy or something like that. That's an example where you can still be in a high end brand but understand the platform and kind of show up instead of just having the bottle of perfume there. And you
yeah.
scroll and you're like, whoa, that's an ad. Like, just by thinking about the creative a little bit more, it's like, wow, that was so eye catching.
And that's the thing is you're giving like beautiful examples of how that's played out lovely. Like I have seen some brands where they use a strategy that's right for a lot of brands, but they kind of long term they start destroying their own brand a little bit by kind of. And I'm more thinking more like people use like uh, scarcity tactics, for example, in some ways sometimes. So I'm like, okay, cool,
Of
that
course.
that will work to get you more sales, sure, and your numbers will
Yeah.
look beautiful for this month, but you've damaged your long-term
Might
brand
be
there.
damaging. And Tom, I think again, this is
Yeah.
a difference. Like, we were saying, YouTube is very much like TV, and credibility is very different. It's like the platforms are so different. The reason that native works on Facebook is because social proof is the most important element in terms of you ranking high in the auction. And if you rank high in the auction, you're going to pay the cheapest price and you're going to get the most reach and probably get the best results. So
Yeah.
these platforms just operate very differently. And it's why I always teach you guys, it's why I nerd out out and go down many rabbit holes about how Facebook works, because if you're going to use this platform, you need to understand how it functions. You know, I'm looking out at a boat going down the canal in Amsterdam right now, which is awesome. And it's like, if you told me, hey, my boat's broken, Molly, fix it. Well, I would probably need to first learn how boats work to diagnose what might be wrong with it. And so, you know, YouTube is a whole different beast in that way.
Yeah, very good point. And nice analogy. I like that. That's cool. Off the top of your head as well. That's cool. Um, so yeah, so diving into how we create a YouTube ad then, like I think that there's two sides of this. There's like the art and the science of a good YouTube ad. And this is how I do it. I don't want to say this is like the only way of doing it. There's plenty of ads that don't follow this format, but this format's worked very well for us for a number of years now. So the rules are, this is not for remarketing traffic, this is for cold traffic. So I want you to try and crack YouTube and the cold traffic because it's more fun, because then it's like new customers to you. We're going to focus only on skippable in-stream ads. So those are the pre-roll ads that are like this. So you can see here, one of my clients, Tony Polacastro, he's like a guitar tutor, but you can see the video ad there. And it's got like on the bottom right hand corner, it's got the skip ad, and the bottom left hand corner, it's got the white box with the blue button. Like that's where people are going to click to go to your site. So that's where our ads will appear. And I want to eliminate any natural creative flair, because when I'm in teaching mode, I take for granted sometimes that I've got a team behind me that think of amazing ideas and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, if we were to eliminate that, how will we go about like starting from scratch to create really, really good ads on YouTube? And so this kind of like the rules of this training, so to speak, is part of that. And this is what I look at all day. I'm looking for trends of data in all of the ads we create and seeing what works, doesn't work, and improve all the time. So this is kind of based off data. It's not like I'm talking about something that I haven't tested before. And there's a formula to this. So the maths of this, and this is important for when we define the structure of the ad, you've got your view rate. Now, your view rate is the percentage of people watching past 30 seconds. So if you don't like math now, I might lose you for a couple of minutes and you can come back in a second. But the view rate is the percentage of people watching past 30 seconds. And that's an important point, because when you're running in-stream ads, you pay when someone watches past 30 seconds or clicks to your site. So if someone watches 29 seconds of your video and then skips ad, it won't cost you a penny. So it means you are going to get good quality people. You're only going to pay for those engaged viewers, so to speak, which is really handy as an ad format, so to speak. So we don't want one scenario, which is where people watch past 30 seconds because they're full of interest and then don't click. So you don't want to have like a clickbait type start of your ad where you're going to say, hey, I'm going to unveil everything you need to know about this, and then at the end of it, like, and download our kind of really poorly put together PDF or something along those lines. Obviously you don't have that, Molly.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what you want to do is make sure that you kind of disqualify people that aren't right for you really early on in the video. I know it sounds like a weird thing to do, but you don't want engagement. You don't want high engagement because it costs you money. You want engagement with the right people. So you don't want to be really harsh about it and it's kind of damage reputation by kind of like saying, if you're this person, we do not want you watching this video. You don't want to do that. But you can use like jargon potentially, which means that like if you wanted to approach high-end ad buyers, but for example, Molly, you can use things like, hey, if your ROAS isn't high enough and you want to scale beyond $10,000 a day, then let's talk a little bit more about exactly how you do that on Facebook. And you're going to find that most people who aren't in your world will be like, skip ad, not like this isn't right for me. I just realized it's not for me. I might be interested in it, but I'm skipping ad probably. So you can do that sort of thing like with jargon if you wanted to. Or you just let people know this is an ad. Like it's amazing how many people skip the ad when they realize that it's an ad. So you might even do like a soft call to action before 30 seconds is up. So people skip the ad, which can be quite useful to do sometimes. Anyway, so you've got this view rate that's important. And if you multiply that by your cost per view, which is slightly out your hands because you're going to be doing machine learning type campaigns, so Google will help you out with this, which means they will control that bid for you. And you divide that by your click-through rate, which is the percentage of people that click to your website from the impressions it's had. So that'll be your click-through rate. And you multiply that by your website conversion rate. Now that depends on what you're measuring. If it's a lead for a webinar, for example, or in your case, Molly, I think it's going to be people that sign up for the first approach, like name and email and whatever information you're asking for people.
Yeah, opt-in.
Opt-in, yeah, okay. So you're going to have a website conversion rate of maybe like, I don't know, 25%, 30% or something, let's say. Now, with this, let's say, for example, your view rate is 35%. That's 35% of people watching more than 30 seconds of your ad. Okay, so your ad loads and 35% of people don't press skip ad and they watch past 30 seconds of your ad. And let's say your cost per view is 8 cents. It should actually be cheaper than that, but 8 cents is a pretty fair number, conservative. Click-through rate 1%. Now, you should be getting higher than that, but 1% is still okay, that's fine. And your website conversion rate, let's say, is pretty strong. It's 30% of people that hit that page are likely to sign up. Now, if you do that, your lead gen cost will be $9.33. That's the actual maths of the process. I'm from the UK, so we call it maths. I know that many people call this math, so it's just the way we say it. But if you were to improve your creative, so you kind of got that down to 25%, so less engagement, but the right people watching, and you only had 25% of people watching past 30 seconds of your ad, and you got your click-through rate to be 1.5%, so a little bump, but definitely doable. We've seen click-through rates of like 3 to 4% before, but that's on the really high end. Your lead gen cost would now be $4.44. So you can get a massive reduction in cost by just getting a better piece of creative together. And that's why this piece is so important. I always discourage people to like just try and do what you're doing on Facebook and apply it to YouTube. I would say that's fine. You probably got a good part of your messaging right there, but just the nuances of YouTube will mean you have to tweak it slightly. And what might work on Facebook probably won't work that well on YouTube, but it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel. It's just more a case of just creating
like the human hasn't changed. Like the human hasn't changed, and the reason that they want your offer hasn't changed, but we're just fitting it for this platform. And I would say on YouTube, the creative and what Tom's about to share, because a few people are asking, so should my video be this? Should it be that? Tom's about to share his video formula. So that's what you should use. This is, I would say, the most important aspect of the campaign, and way more important than the creative on Facebook, because the video is everything on YouTube. So this formula just proves that mathematically. And it's interesting because on Facebook, the game's a little bit different, Tom, where I hadn't thought before, like if we wouldn't have chatted and you just threw me into YouTube, I definitely would have launched a video that opens up with some big pain points for Facebook advertisers and then makes a quick call to action over to the 7-day class. But it makes so much sense when you do the math and you look at this that if we actually focused on calling out, like, you know, more of who we're looking for versus sort of a catch-all approach, which you have more on Facebook, because, you know, that engagement rate is what helps you in the auction in such a big way. Yeah, I would have taken the wrong approach if we didn't go through this. So thank you for that. And this makes sense.
It's exactly it. Like, a lot of the time I have to justify why we're doing things for people who are Facebook advertisers moving and migrating across to YouTube. Like, I want them to get the very best result, because it's disheartening if you try and learn a new platform and get it all going and then you're like, oh, nothing's working. And it might be just because like your view rate's ridiculously high or your click-through rate's not high enough. And those are the two numbers I'm keeping a very close eye on, like when I'm building and scaling campaigns. Like, you can select your targeting as much as you can select your targeting. Like, you might be able to improve it as time goes on and optimize, and sure, but like, you're going to go for what you think is right. And if you're not supported by a good ad and a good offer, like your offer proven, done, we're good with that. But we need to create an ad that says, right, for these types of people that we're targeting on YouTube, we've got to get them to this site and converting. And what's the best way of doing that? And these are the two numbers you can control the most: view rate and click-through rate. And so we just got to be good at getting those pieces right, because if you do that and your lead cost is down, like maybe you can afford $15 a lead, let's say, for example, but you were able to get it from $9.33 down to $4.44. Well, all of a sudden, we can now double the amount of budget that we throw at this. And all of a sudden, the machine learning starts really helping us because we've got more margin to play with. And now you can afford to bid more. You can beat all the competition. You can ride any turbulent times. You future-proof your campaigns and yourself, and you can outsmart the super geeks. So when there's like people that have been advertising on Google for like 20 years or something, and they know it inside out, they're super geeks. They sit behind computers all day and just like play with all the numbers and stuff, and they can improve things. I'm like, I love those guys so much, but I'm going to just create a better ad than them. I win.
I know
And
some of those guys.
yeah, exactly.
And
I know a lot of them, and I love
much
them.
Yeah, much love to them, because I wouldn't understand these platforms in digital marketing as well as I do without them. Like the analogy I was saying earlier about understanding the machine. It's why they're able to do what they do. But if I had to choose, I would more so choose our superpower, Tom, like the
Yeah.
creation of the marketing message and the assets, because that is more future proofed in terms of as these traffic channels come and go and adapting in that way. So yeah, much love to those people though.
Yeah, and yeah, and there's so many things happening in that world where AI is starting to take over and stuff. Like
I know it's
it's mad,
wild.
like what's going on. But like it can't like AI is not going to be able to create you a ridiculously good different message well yet. Might be into in the future, but like we've got a good run here of like the better creative you put together, the better results you're going to have with people. So with that in mind, like you've got two numbers that you can play with. You've got your click-through rate, which is the first one, and your view rate as well. But let's tackle click-through rate, and we want to get a target of 1.5% plus. Now we actually want a much bigger one than that, but that will mean that the ad's doing the job that we need to do. So how to increase click-through rate? Well, it's basically creating a good ad, but I'm going to eliminate the natural creative flair here. So let's plan with Educate. So planning out to begin with, and we can do this together on the call right now, Molly. Educate is like my formula for creating a good ad. It's the way that I collect all the information I need when it comes to putting a YouTube ad together. So it's an acronym, and the A stands for AIM. So if we think about your YouTube audience, they're kind of going to YouTube, they're looking for like Facebook advice, or looking for target, like they're looking to build Facebook campaigns, looking to get more customers, they're looking to get more leads. It's that type of individual. What did you say the biggest aim was earlier? It's reliable and scalable campaigns or something, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And just really getting Facebook ads to work for their business or for their clients. Like it's that that's the simplest way I can put it. Like
Okay,
the
perfect.
ultimate goal is they want to grow a business, or they want to grow clients' businesses. And obviously, Facebook advertising and paid traffic are one of the best ways to do it. So there's definitely different levels in terms of skill sets. And I think that's something we're able to do well, especially in TMTP, is serve people who have never run ads before up to people that are spending, millions of dollars a month. And so I'm less concerned on the skill level. I'm just more concerned, not concerned, but I think it's just more about, yeah, getting that proof of concept and being able to scale and get consistent results on Facebook.
Love it. Okay, so yeah, okay. And what about difficulty then, which is the next one, like the D for difficulty? Like what's in their minds, what their own perception, their own thoughts, what do you think's stopping them from achieving all the success? Like, and probably looking at other businesses and saying, well, they're just like us and they seem to be killing it on Facebook. Why can't I? Like, why do they think they're not getting the results they should be getting?
Yeah, and help me in the comments if you guys have any thoughts, because you are these people.
Maybe, and
um,
also if I'm not asking the right questions, feel free to like ask me,
No,
guys,
these
as well.
are
Everyone,
these are
everyone
great,
chip in.
Tom. Like this is an awesome exercise that we all should go through. It's so insightful. But I would say the difficulties range from like they've gotten success through Facebook ads before, but they can't get it to continue to work, or when they try to scale it, the results just, fall on their face, or they've never been able to get Facebook ads to work, or they don't think that Facebook ads can work, or they're just not quite sure. They want the results they know they can get through paid traffic and digital marketing, but they're not quite sure what to do. So I would say that's the range of most important barriers for our students.
Perfect. Okay. I'm making notes as I go here.
Cool.
I like the fact that you well, all of it was great. But like, are they wanting like a method, like a roadmap for you to be like, just like
Yeah,
if you said,
absolutely.
stop what you're doing,
Like
here's
a
the way to do
system.
it.
Exactly, like a step-by-step system. Teresa said lowering my cost, increasing my return on ad spend. Obviously a lot of people are coming to increase return on ad spend, just essentially scale and be able to make money through paid ads, be able to grow their business.
Cool. Okay. One thing that I think is really important to note here as well is that I always look at any ad that I create on YouTube as same sort of message, but the way that we give the message, like
Different.
the way we frame the message is to say this is an opportunity to change what you're doing right now, as opposed to improve what you're doing.
Okay.
Because if you have an opportunity to change what you're doing, it allows people to be like, you know what I've been following before isn't the best thing for me. I can give that up now and I can start something new. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
just a
So I
framing
think
thing.
I love that. I think it's quit. We would speak to people who are already running ads, but it's, basically quit doing stuff that doesn't work on the platform. Like people, because ads look so simple, people hop in the platform and they throw something up and it doesn't work and then they don't continue, but they really don't have the proper education to even know how to set something up that works. So I would say in regard, like what you just laid out, that would be the best way to go about that, I think.
Yeah, I
Like
saw.
basically quit launching ads that or campaigns that don't work. Facebook campaigns that don't work.
Yeah, and I think that the thing with saying so okay, so the reason I say don't do an improvement thing, and this is like a side thing, not following on from what you said, but like the reason we don't do improvement is because if you say, hey, look, here's how to improve what you're currently doing, someone has to admit that they failed at what they were doing, and when no one likes to do that, deep down we hate that. If we have to say, I've been trying really hard to do this thing, and you're like,
So true.
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
like, well,
it's
here's
hard to
let me
admit
help
knowing.
you improve that. It's like
Yeah,
you're failing at what you're meant to be doing. I'm going to come in and help you do that thing. It's like
so
it's
true.
so it's like, oh, stop doing that rubbish stuff that you're doing that's outdated. You've got to give them a reason to give it up. Like
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
outdated.
You're right. We don't
And
want to make them feel broken either. Like that is a value of mine. I don't want to make someone feel like they're broken. We just got
yeah,
Eric said, he felt it was too complicated. It's expensive. How do I compete with the big guys, big brands? I need to make money. Frederico says, he wanted to feel more confident that he could get results for any client. So, yeah, Tom, I definitely broke the rules there.
this is great. Thank you guys. This is like amazing. We're gonna be creating a ridiculously good ad here.
Yeah,
And
and
this is the sort
another
of
one
questions
really
I go through in my own head.
yeah,
And to be honest, when I do this, I do it by myself. Like when I'm writing
yeah,
a script, if I try and get other
yeah.
people to help me out with it,
Oh,
like
this
we
is
just go
such
on
a
rabbit
great
holes.
process. This is the process that matters. This is a creative process I've talked to you guys about this whole class. This is the secret sauce. This is what matters. It's not the button clicking in the platform. It's like exactly what we're doing right here. Teresa, this was good. She said, what about something like getting lots of sales but not profitable due to your ad costs? She said that is what would have hooked me.
Love it.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. So it's going to be, yeah. And are you speaking to a relatively educated person already about Facebook ads? It's not like complete newbies to this, is it? Or is it kind of, it is both, or who tends to be the
Yeah,
audience?
I wanted to feel comfortable to newbies because I know that I can serve them and we've had lots of case studies.
Hmm.
But I also don't want it to be so general that someone more advanced would feel like it's not for them.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I was thinking then like ROAS, I've seen it a couple of times in the comments here. Like that's something that everyone might be
Yes, I
familiar
would
with
use
now.
term. Yes.
Would they be
Yeah,
familiar
they
before
would
they
be
came in?
familiar with that.
Perfect. Use that jargon. That's going to get your view rate down. Perfect. Okay.
Cool. I love
Um,
that. Because if it's more general just about making more money, it's like that's casting the wider net where, I start throwing out terms like ROAS and my family's not clicking on that ad.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. What's Molly talking about?
Yeah,
um,
exactly. And
cool.
great ad. Great accent.
Yeah. Well, I was born in the deep south, as you can probably tell.
Yes. Hold on, one more. This is great, Teresa. You are successful. You have lots of sales. Your customers love your products. Now, what about making some money for you? I like that. Something similar that has always worked really well for me, Tom, and I'm just throwing out more ideas is um, the idea that you have a product or service you want to get out into the world, um, but just no one has seen it yet. Like that lack of visibility. That's another idea too, because yeah, that works.
Nice. Okay, cool. And have you got, okay, yeah. Have you got a case study that um, that simplified how to do Facebook ads that then worked really well? I'm sure you have. Like,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even the
cool.
case
Okay.
study that I use in this class, because this is a free 7-day class, and I use an e-commerce business as an example. So, that's a case study in itself.
Nice. Okay. So
But
I
also,
think someone
Tom,
said,
let's not forget too the promise of the class, which is like launch a high performing ad campaign, which is what someone wants in 7 days. And it's like ready to start selling on Facebook. Watch as Molly builds a profitable ad campaign from start to finish with crystal clear action items that show you how to build the same campaign for your brand. At the end of the 7 days, you'll be ready to launch your own campaign. Advertisers of
yep,
any skill level will get value from this training.
love it. Okay, cool. So I think one of the big players here will be complication. I can't remember who said it, but like it can be
Eric.
complicated. Yeah.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
yeah, because I think that like all the things you've mentioned here, we need to say. So like you want reliable, scalable campaigns. You want to increase your ROAS, and you want to get it working for yourself, or if you're working with clients, you want to get their businesses to scale and grow. And what is the best way of doing that? Like maybe that might be like the big question they've got in their head. The difficulty then becomes like, okay, but here's what you might be faced with. You might be faced with like, okay, you've got some success in the past, but then it didn't last. Or maybe you've scaled and it's just all gone to kind of, it didn't work out like for long term. Or maybe you've never got it to work. Maybe you've tried so many different things and never got it to work. What do you do now? And I think that what we need to allude to then, or not necessarily what do we do now just yet. I remember I'm speaking off the top of my head here. This is brand new information to me somewhat.
Oh, of
But
course.
the thing that we'd move into next is understand, of educate. So we've got aim, difficulty, understand. This is the point where you align with them and you
Yeah,
say,
and this is what
look,
I'm good at. Like, hey, I've been there,
yeah,
Like
yeah,
still,
exactly, yeah.
I would say 60 to 80% of the campaigns that I launch fail.
Nice, okay. Well, I think that be careful how you phrase that at the start of the video because
Okay.
you're building your credibility.
I'm making them feel like a failure again.
Yes, follow me because I got an 80% failure rate. Yeah. So, um,
Oh
but
God.
but what you can say, yeah. So you can say, look, I totally get it. Like, um, I mean, you must have worked with so many people, Molly, where it's like Facebook isn't working for them and you turn it around for them. Like that's like what you do. That's like the amazingness of your talents and things, along with everything else you do. But like, I think that one of the things you can say is like, I've helped so many business owners get proper, serious results on Facebook. And here's the trick to it. It's all about getting back to basics and doing the stuff that at the core actually work. The reason we do this is they say back to basics is you're saying, by saying back to basics, you give them that kind of two things happen. One, you're saying this is a brand new way of doing things, so I can give up what I've been doing and learn a new way of doing it. But back to basics removes that overcomplication piece. So they're saying, okay, cool. If I get back to basics, maybe this might just work for me. I've been trying all this complicated stuff for ages.
It
Um,
feels obtainable.
yeah, and you can almost say like, you can leave all your really complicated ad campaign build outs back in 2017. That's fine. You can do that. um, do you know what I mean? Like you can like make fun of like
Yeah, I love that.
the stuff. Yeah. So I'm trying to make notes as fast as I say it. So back like leave back like outdated techniques back in
Yeah,
2017.
outdated, complicated techniques.
Yeah, leave them back in 2017. I like that. It's a bit of a smirk to them, and they can laugh about the problem they're having because they have
Oh
aligned that
yeah.
problem they're having with old, outdated techniques type thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it.
okay, cool. Um, so you've positioned yourself now. You're saying you want this. This is the thing that you're frustrated with. I get it, and I know why as well. And here's the level of understanding. And then you've got to build your credibility at this point, Molly. So you have got credibility from so many different ways. But I think this is going to be your personal credibility as well as smart marketer, and like pulling all the pieces you can together. Now, that's going to be pretty easy. Like, you want to showcase this with you on stage, with you writing your book, with you helping individual clients, and anything that you've got there, you want to kind of like position
Yeah,
it really quickly.
I can pull up a few important things from my bio, like training, tens of thousands of people, you know, speaking on stages, amount of money I've spent on paid traffic. Any of those might work, or like being
Yeah,
featured in
exactly.
Forbes. We could say that. Fast Company, Money. We could talk about
Yeah,
my book for sure.
you,
Whatever
you
you
want
feel is best. That's where I always get the most uncomfortable with this stuff.
yeah,
You
always
know
have
how weird
always
it
have
is
someone else write the
to talk
credibility piece
about
for you.
yourself. Me too.
Yeah,
I can barely even read my bio. It's like, yeah, it's a weird
yeah,
thing to market yourself, but any of that is cool with me.
yeah. Always have someone else write your credibility
And
piece. They
I
pick you
would
up so much
also
more than you
like
do
to
yourself.
Yeah, I also would like to add a little bit, just a line, not necessarily Smart Marketer's tagline, but add in a little bit of like, and I'll help you do it in a way that actually feels good to you. Because I think that's something that where myself and probably Smart Marketer as a whole stands out in the market a little bit is like, yeah, we're teaching you tactical stuff, we're teaching you how to make money, but we're also very sensitive to what's best for the world and values and things like that. So I don't know where that would
Mm.
come into play, but I do think that's a big differentiator.
Do you know what? I think that I'd love to try and insert that in because I think it says a lot about your brand. I'd love to probably showcase that more than actually say it, hopefully in the ad, like with visuals and things.
Cool.
But because when we're
I've got
creating an ad, I like,
testimonials where people have said things like that.
oh, okay, beautiful, yeah. So it may be like when I'm creating an ad, I try and like go on a piece where I'm like, well, in Hollywood they do this a lot. So as you're writing or screenwriting or something, you think of like so many cool things in the months and the years of writing the actual kind of play or film or whatever it might be. And you think of all these really clever ideas and you think, oh, these are all amazing. And then when you put them all down on paper, you're like, well, we can't do all of these things. It just won't flow at all. It won't do
Of
what I
course,
want
we're
to do.
gonna have to pick.
Yeah, you got to kill your darlings, they call it. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like, so we got to like, as we go through it, be like, right, what's the line that people will just be like, I'm on board with all of this? Because the landing page is still going to need to do some lifting, and then you've still got like things you can introduce in the emails and everything else. You got plenty of time to introduce
Cool.
everything that's amazing about Smart Architer.
Yeah, and that might come
Just
in later,
yeah.
but just wanted to put that out there. And Tom, also, this is just awesome. Like, we are writing a video script live. So that's pretty cool. I hope you guys are appreciating this process. So I'm glad we decided to do this live.
Cool. I need to download these comments as well. These are so good, guys. Like, keep them coming in because if I can get like a list of these comments afterwards, it'll probably help us just refine the script afterwards, Molly, as well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Cool. So once you've built your credibility, so what you've done so far, you said, here's what you want, here's standing in your way, so aim difficulty. Look, you get it, you have empathy, you understand, you've seen it all before, you can help people with this process, and you can leave your techniques back in 2017, we can get back to basics and do this properly this time, build your credibility, so that's what gets all these results that you're getting with people, etc., and why you get featured on stage and in the magazines and blah, blah, blah. And then you say, look, here's the secret, like here's what you actually do, like here's the system that you chose or your roadmap that you give to people that sorts it all out for them. So you want to try and break it down into like an action plan. This is the A for action plan, where it's people can buy into it immediately. As soon as they see it, they're like, oh my word, yeah, that's it. That's what I need. That's the roadmap. That's the
Yeah.
3-step plan. That's
And
the,
this is
like for
the
me,
5-step. Yeah, we've got that, which is good. Yeah, this 5-part Facebook ads class, and I walk through the 5-step process to launching that campaign. Would you say that's good enough? And then
do you have
even on that
visuals for it?
page, as they scroll down, they see each step in each video on the page too.
Cool. And is it a list or is it like a diagram? Does it look like is it put together in a nice image,
Yes, yeah.
like a
What's
diagram or something.
inside? And if you look at the page, Tom, or I could just show my screen really quick
Oh yeah,
here.
go for it. Yes, so we can see it. That'd be
And
awesome.
we can obviously get Brittany to do whatever on this. Like I'm open, but this so fast that screenshots of each video.
Oh, give me 1 second. I'm still got my slides up. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you got plan your campaign, reach the right people, produce high converting ads, build a scalable campaign, launch your campaign. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I might even condense that down a little bit because you could even say like, if you can make it 3 steps, I think it's going to be better. So it might be plan, and then reach the right people could be part of that plan potentially. And then you could like creative and then launch a scalable campaign or something. Yeah, it could be like 3 steps. You might want to think about that a little bit.
Or
But 3
build,
steps
build.
seems easy.
Okay, so you want me to basically just reposition this offer a little bit, which I'm totally fine with. But you
Yeah.
know me, I always go down the rabbit hole. You're lucky this isn't 10 steps.
Yeah.
Tom's like, Molly, 3.
And he's getting into 3. Oh my god. Yeah. What would be really cool is if you could get like a designer to create like a visual display of like the steps you recommend to people. Now,
Yeah,
you want 3.
Like a journey or something like that.
Yeah, I love it. Like a roadmap, like so,
Yeah.
or whatever. So it looks like if you were to print that off, you put up on your wall and say like, that's my Bible. That's what I follow. That's my thing that I kind of look to whenever I run my Facebook ads. Now I can stop what I'm doing. I'm going to do this thing now. So you want it to be like, here's I'll tell you what, who's done it really, really well. Mike Rhodes, obviously, he had like the display grid. And as soon as you see the display grid, it looks complicated. You probably wouldn't actually use that, but like it's the perfect thing for people to almost print out and have on their wall and be like, all right, I can use that display grid and I can fill in the pieces and I'm going to build better campaigns and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the ad grid that I used to teach, and people love that because it's a grid and the principles still are the same, but it's not necessarily how I launch campaigns now. But yeah, I could definitely like make some sort of signature name for this, Tom, because this is also like the meat of Train My Traffic Person. Like Train My Traffic Person is built around these topics, just way deeper, and lots of other topics are covered. But it's like the most important key to success here is understanding, and you know this, the ad creation process, being really solid on every step. Like the better you are at each step when it comes to building the fundamentals, the offer, the targeting, the copy, the creative, and then the campaign structure, like making sure you are setting it up to meet what you're doing. It's like if you can be solid in all of those areas, you'll be successful with this. So like I cover those briefly in like 5 to 10 minute videos here in TMTP. They're like 90+ minute videos usually, and there are more topics covered. But I think you're right. Like I hadn't thought of that. If I could come up with sort of a name or formula for this, I just don't want to sound too like internet marketing, like that's so not me. And you see so many things like that in this industry, and I think sometimes it puts people off. But I do think there's a way I can do it in like just a way that fits me. I think it's something I need to think about.
Yeah, it's just your proprietary system. You've already got in your head. It's your thing or smart marketer's thing or whatever it is. Like you want to have like, here's your manual of the way we do things and stuff. And so it's just simplifying it down a little bit, like so people can buy into it and they see it and they're like, I would love that. That's so cool. So okay, here's an example. Like say for example, I was saying, hey Molly, we're going to go whitewater rafting today. It's going to be so much fun. You're going to absolutely love it. And you've never done it before, and like you see the river and you see like the crazy like I've never done it before, so you can probably tell that by how I'm describing it, but like the rocks and the water and how fast it's going and the rapids and things, you'll probably be like, oh, I'm actually quite nervous now. Like before it sounded fun, and now I'm seeing all of this and I'm getting geared up and I've got my helmet on, I'm quite nervous now. And then the instructor comes along and says, hey guys, are going to help you get down the river. We're going to have so much fun doing this. Everyone's got their all great. Everyone's got their kind of got their helmets on, got their life jackets on. Great. Okay, perfect. Now to get down the river, it's really simple. There's just 71 things you need to do. Follow along. Just like, whoa, I'm not ready for that. That's kind of crazy. Whereas they said,
Yeah,
look, there's just, to do this, there's actually just 3 things you need to think about. That's
of
all you got to do.
course.
This, and
You
this.
relax and you're
Yeah,
ready
you're
to
like,
take action. And
I
it's
can,
why
mm,
even the names of your lead magnet are so important. It's why like this isn't just a free Facebook class, it's a free 7-day class because it also speaks to cool, I can get this done in a week, where yeah,
yeah.
as people have commented like hey, I didn't know how much time it would take me to learn. I think is Facebook ads is something one of you guys said. So, anytime you can give someone a number of steps or a number 5 makeup tips like Boom does, or, like we did here, it's like that always works best. But I think we just need to take it to the next level here, Tom. So I'll think about
Yeah, exactly. And people buy into it as well. Like people keep on telling me like they love the educate process. Like they
yeah.
saw it like 2 years ago and they remember it and they're like, oh yeah, your educate process for ads, I love it. It's like, oh cool, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, and people remember it, which is cool. So I need to share my screen again, I think. That's my kids in the background if you can hear them screaming. um, cool. How do I share my screen again?
To share, or let me see. Okay.
Oh, I think I
I
can
just
grab it
gave you
back.
the controls back, Tom.
Nice. Okay. I can share my screen. Excellent. All right. So we have credibility and we have action plans. So that's going to be your proprietary system. People can buy into it. They see it and makes it simple for people. Then in the ad itself, you want to give them something completely unique where they're like, oh, like you pull out one piece and it makes them think like, I never realized that was the way to do it. Or, oh, that's super cool. That's so clever. I never thought of that before. I've never done that technique before and I can see why that would work. So is there like, when you're on stage and you're speaking, Molly, and there's a moment where everyone's like starts writing it down, like you say something, you see everyone's pens start jotting down on the pad and things. Is there something you teach that makes people sit up and think that's really clever? I'm sure there is, but do you have something in mind that like is like a clever piece?
I can't think of anything specifically. I think it would depend on the topic, like of
Yeah.
whatever I was discussing.
What about, okay, so anyone in the audience, as we're doing this, what's one thing that like Molly's taught you that, okay, we've got ABO versus CBO. Now, I don't even know what that is. I'm not a Facebook advertiser, but do you know what that means, Molly? ABO versus
Yes.
CBO?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a huge pain point for advertisers right now. I mean, I can tell you the most frequently, like, I definitely know the hot buttons of my people or what they're interested in. But in terms of like, for example, if we're talking about Facebook targeting, whenever I give people, templates for them to use to Google search to learn about their audience, of course they're going to write that down. Or if I give people like copy templates, like any asset like that, people love to write down any specifics about campaign structure, between
Mm,
what types of campaigns you're launching. People write stuff like that down. It kind of just depends on the topic.
cool. And you
If
have
it's
one of
a
those
case
inside of the
study,
training.
yeah, there's lots of stuff like that in the training. So in the teach section, maybe I could mention a few of, those things that I know people will kind of love in the training. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so this might be a good idea. In the teach section, you might even hold up like a printed out manual of one of the cheat sheets you give away or something along those lines. And you might say, and by the way, if you ever have a struggle with integrating with CBO, I'm outside of my depth here, and you probably can tell.
I
Um,
love it.
but
Tom
you might
brings
say like,
Facebook
and
ads.
if you had struggles with CBO before, I know exactly why. Or you maybe not say that, but you might say, I'm going to show you how, whether you do e-commerce or lead gen or whatever it is you're doing, you can get it to scale really aggressively. Because here's the real secret to it. You might say, like, hint at it, sort of thing. And then you might say, and look, I've got this cheat sheet for you. So as soon as you opt in, you're going to get this in one of the training videos. I'm going to walk it all through with you so you actually understand how to finally master it. That type of thing. So you're kind of pulling something out that makes people pulling it out of your action plan. So your proprietary
Yeah.
system that people are buying into. You say, hey, let me just show you something really cool. So if you were doing a free book offer, as I know you love those ones. It might be the sort of thing where you say like, hey, and by the way, on page 37, we've got a whole chapter dedicated to CBO and how to make sure you don't fall into the problems that everyone faces and how you get this
Oh,
done right.
totally.
So,
Yeah, I
so it's like,
can
oh,
tell.
page 37, I'll make a note of that type thing.
Yeah, I can already think of 2 or 3 of those things that I can mention for sure.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Nice. Now, if you're doing e-commerce, by the way, just so other people are listening in, if you're selling a physical product, your action plan might be a demonstration of your product in action, like the 3 steps that makes this coffee machine so cool. But then your teach section might be the unique aspect of that coffee machine that makes the coffee just taste 10 times better because of this one special thing that it does, like some clever thing or whatever it might be, or like a trick on how to create the best coffee or whatever. Like you can sometimes say like, oh, did you know if you're going to make an Irish coffee, you have to pour the cream on the back of the spoon into the coffees, and everyone's like, oh, that's quite clever. You say, but in this machine, it's actually pre-built in, so you'll never ever have to do that. It just works immediately. Like, oh, that is cool. Something. It's anything like that makes people feel like, oh, there's a cool little feature to this that makes me like realize that just in one aspect of like one short video, you show me something really cool about this, but I'm going to click and find out more. And that's what we're wanting this video to do. So yeah, it's pulling out one cool thing. And then the final piece is the exit. And this is where you're doing the call to action. So if you were holding up the printout, Molly, then, and it's always nice to have something that's tangible, like something actually physical in your hand.
That.
So
It always works so much better.
Yeah, if you say you're going to get this, like when you log in or opt in, you can like hold that and say, and you're also going to get 4 more or whatever. You have the other handouts that they might get. And you say, look, all you need to do is, and then you walk them through the steps. So you click the button in the video, it's going to take you to this page, fill in your name and email, and then you'll be directly into the training. And you've got these 5 videos just waiting for you. You want to future pace them through that process so like they can see that happening.
I love that.
Then when
And
you do
would I show them actually on the screen? Would we do a screen share and be like, go put your email in here? Okay, cool.
Precisely.
We can make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. So then
that's awesome, Tom. I would have never thought to do that. I would have just been like, go opt in, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, never say bye in a video ad or thank you in the end of a video ad. But yeah, that kind of like completes the journey for them. Like, no, keep them open. Like yeah. But the yeah, you want to show them what to do next. So like visually show them in the ad, like here's what's going to happen when you click this button. And so then you kind of take them through, and they're likely to kind of take the next steps and go and actually do what you just showed them, and nothing's unfamiliar then, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of, when they get there, it's like, this does look like you just showed me on the video. Click, submit their email, and they're in. So that'll really help you. But you want it to be super easy, as it is, because it's an opt-in. So it's nothing difficult to go and do. And super desirable, and you've got that in spades, because especially if you've got kind of like the handout holding in your hand and then you've shown them what the videos look like, it's going to be exciting for them to take that next step.
Yeah, I love it. Cool, I can do that.
Cool. Okay, so here's some hacks, and this will come into the ads that we create, and this is kind of more an editing process. So one is that at the end of the video we can do like a countdown timer. It's ads in scarcity without it being fake or damaging to the brand or anything like that. It's just saying the ad is running out of time. It's right at the end after you stop talking. We add this in, and it just means that people kind of like know where to click, and that really
just
improves
gives
our
them a
click-through
few
rate.
extra seconds. That's really smart.
Yeah, exactly. Gives them a few extra seconds, and because most people wait until you finish talking before they actually take action, and sometimes people do it and like before they know it, the ads run out and the previous ads runs, or the previous video runs up.
Yeah, my mom called me the other day and she's like, I don't understand Insta stories. They move too quickly.
Okay, yeah, exactly. That says everything, doesn't it? Like,
here.
Yeah, we forget that people will kind of like need to find their mouse and then drag it across and get to the right point. And yeah, like especially if you're
not
going for
all
an
of
older
us
marketplace.
are as in tune with this tech as we are.
Yeah, precisely. And also what we do to bump this up again is to say, we sometimes, not always, but we sometimes add this like get ready to click. So even before we do the call to action, it comes up and it kind of is a little like countdown time to say, look, get ready to click because you got to click soon. And by adding those two things together, we're seeing a bump of like 48% in click-through rate. So there's so many people on the edge. Like, because if you think about it, like we're asking 1% of impressions to click the ad. And if the targeting is pretty good, you're saying, imagine 100 people in front of you saying, yeah, I'm pretty interested in running Facebook ads, and you only got one of them to click. Like, that's a 1% click-through rate. It feels awful when you think of it like that, but that's actually a really good, that's like a pretty healthy number. But if you think like, right, there's so many people, of that 100 people in front of you, one person clicks, there's probably a good 5 or 6 people that are like really close to clicking. And you're like, great, well, like, let's try and bump them as much as we can with these editing tricks, because you might just find like 2 more people click, and all of a sudden your click-through rate's gone to 3%. It can be crazy like that. So yeah, so it's a powerful step to take. But there's also, I wanted to show you something that's new and is amazing for YouTube, and I think everyone's going to get excited by this on the call. So this is called VidTow, and it's developed by 2 guys called Brat and Ian. I'm actually in talks with them to kind of develop more stuff as well, which is quite cool. But what it is you can go to YouTube, and if you see an ad that you like, it's like a Chrome plugin, you can click, and it'll take you through to like with the plugin itself. You can click on the plugin, and it will just swipe the video ad that you're watching and just save it into your folders. So you can see here that I've just gone to this tab here, and it's like VidTow. I can search marketing like I've done in the top right hand corner here. I'll just highlight it for you there. And it's got all these videos that I've swiped more as tests more than anything else. But as soon as you like one that you see that you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to use that. But it gives you all the view counts on the recent view counts. And so it shows you what ads have got most spend put to them, basically, which if you kind of make an assumption that means it's a good ad, then you can start to get some really good inspiration. Not to necessarily copy it, it's just more a case of like, that's a cool ad, I like that.
This is like Facebook ads library, but
yeah, but it's not, there's nothing like this for YouTube until now, which is really cool. And so I did this, and you see the bottom one there, that's the Gordon Ramsay masterclass one. Watch this. So I'll move my mic to my camera, but I just want you to watch the start of this video from Gordon Ramsay. One sec.
Watch carefully. Look at that. Oh boy. Delicious.
Okay, so I'm not sure how well that comes across on GoToWebinar. Did it come across clearly, Molly?
it was a little choppy, but I got the point.
Yeah, okay, cool. So it's Gordon Ramsay, and he's like, he says at the start, watch carefully. And then he goes and makes this like all the chopping and everything else looks really, really cool and things. But he's told us a command at the start of the video to say, watch carefully. Now, if you're interested in cooking at all, you're going to be like, okay, I'm watching Gordon, and like you're the god of like cooking, and I don't disobey Gordon either because he's quite an aggressive guy and all that sort of stuff. So he gives this command at the start, like watch carefully, and immediately it's a sense of importance. Something's going to happen that's going to be really important.
Yeah, it felt like a movie trailer, which I'm sure has a lot of the same elements, like very important.
Yeah. It's like a trailer, but it's like a really big thing. So you could like, the inspiration I'm getting from this VidTow tool is that like you watch these videos but they're just all there waiting for you to go and explore, and you can get inspiration from them so easily. So you imagine you saying like at the start of your video, hey, running Facebook ads, watch carefully. And then it kind of cuts into something else, like you getting like working with clients and getting good results or something like that. And then it starts with like, hey, look, if you really want to get reliable, scalable campaigns, you start moving into that sales pitch then. But this start process, like if you're just looking down the barrel of the gun, like straight at the camera, and you just said, okay, watch carefully. It just means that like, oh, Molly's going to show us something really cool with Facebook ads or something like that.
I love that. That's such a good tip.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to take out all the creative spark that I do on a daily basis and my team does and all that sort of stuff. Like, you can now just go and find this information and just like get really cool advice and different things you can do.
Yeah, I love that, and inspiration, which is, this is a creative process.
Yeah, and it's so hard to sit there and be creative and think of creative things, but it's so easy to
that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone read Big Magic. I recommended that in the creative module, but yeah, if you want to understand creativity, read that book. I don't know if you've read that, Tom, by
I haven't
Elizabeth
just written it
Gilbert.
down.
Oh, it's so good. And basically, she explains that, I mean, creativity is always there. So it's not about you sitting down and being creative. Ideas are always accessible to you. It's just about you being in a place where you actually aren't blocking them. And a lot of like how we're living is like blocking creativity. So it's a really interesting book and such a helpful way to think about it. And I know it's helpful for me because then I'm not trying to sit down and be creative. It's like, cool, what do I, what place do I need to be in to be creative? If that makes sense.
100%. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I'm building
Which is,
a office at home at the moment, and it's like designed with that in mind to be like, how can I get
yes.
it to be a creative den for me, so to speak? Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, which is really interesting because I think that this quarantine situation, like I feel, especially in the last few weeks, more creative than I have in years. And I think a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
that is just being grounded and not having a lot of these distractions, which again reminds me of how important that book is, especially if you want to be successful in marketing. So yeah, thanks for listening about that, guys.
That's cool. Okay. And then we've got Dr. Squatch soap here as well. So I just cut a couple of bits out of this ad that I thought like I literally I did this tool hasn't been available for long at all. So I literally been playing around with it. And just looking for inspiration. So I forget things as well. This is the thing is I look at ads and I'm like, oh, I'll make a note of that. And then I forget I even saw it once before. I'm like, oh, of course, yeah, that would have been great to do that. But you've just done the shoot with a client or something like that. You're like, oh no, we should have done this or something.
Yeah.
It's horrible when you kind of think like that. So this is one that it's going to be a bit choppy, but I'll show you kind of like I'll talk it through as it goes through. Maybe that might be easier. So with this ad, you'll see that he's talking, and it's a bit humorous and funny anyway. But you see the reviews come up all around him, which is really clever.
I like
And then
that
he
a
kind of
lot.
and then he does like comparisons of like it's so great versus this versus that versus this versus that, and it's really good videography. Um,
And it's
but
hilarious.
yeah, it's really cool. But the other thing I really like about this is that they cut to all their customers. So they've got a whole heap of
Ah,
customers,
this
again,
is
social
so
proof.
those are very similar to the videos that are working for Boom on Facebook. So I'll recommend to them to include those in the YouTube videos too if they're not already.
Yeah, exactly. What so like here with like if you can show your community, and this is what I was talking about earlier, like they've missed a step here because yes, they've got 250,000 customers that are happy apparently, but that's exactly it. I'm thinking apparently they probably just bought it to say they're happy. I'm not so sure, sort of thing. Like maybe they clicked the review, sure, sort of thing. But if you've got like your customers on Zoom calls with you and they're all having fun and they're kind of enjoying the process and they're happy to be seen, and it's actually a community that you've built, that's the credibility piece. It's like they're on the call, they're engaging with you, they're not kind of just bought a course and said they were happy. They're in the course with you. So if you can showcase that community and how you have fun with your community and things, visually, like it does so many good things. Like the guitar guy I was talking about earlier, it's so persuasive, and it means that you wouldn't risk your brand because it's too important to you because you've got this community. And but remember, this is deep down human behavioral evolution, like thoughts that are going on. It's like, oh, if you have a community, you must be good. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and you wouldn't risk it. You wouldn't risk selling me something that's not good. And so it's just like we do this so
And
easily.
people want community, like people want to be a part of groups of people of like-minded people, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the belonging process again. It's like I want to be in a group of people that are like me, so I can. And I know there's status within that. There's status outside, but it's really clever. But also they do that. So at the start of this video, it's like 32 seconds in, they do this thing where they kind of like, we call it man on the street. Obviously it's females here, but like it's going out onto the street and letting people test your products and just like letting them film. And it's like this guy washed with this soap, and then this girl saying like how he smells amazing and all sort of stuff. And it's like you can almost like see the sexual chemistry on video with these two, like in the video itself. But it's like it's very this is like soap for men, and they want to, like, men deep down want to smell good to the other sex, basically, at a very kind of base level sort of thing. And so, like, when we see this, we're like, oh, if I have this soap, then females are going to find me more attractive. And it's like, that's kind of what we're all thinking. And so when when all these kind of like are being recorded, it's like the females are kind of talking about, oh, if my man was to wear this, I'll be all over him. And it's this type of stuff. It's done in jest, but it's done really elegantly. And it would be so easy to just take your products out onto the street and just film people. I don't think it's be quite so easy during this time in quarantine. And also it's like, you can't really stop people and say, hey, what did you think about this Facebook ads course? It's probably not going to be easy to do that. But it's just for if you do have like physical products.
We did have a workshop last May, and I do have customers talking about Train My Traffic Person on video. So we could use some of that footage, Tom.
Yeah, perfect. Let's use that footage. There's another tool that I love called videoask.com, brought out by the same guys who did typeform.com or do typeform.com. Video Ask is like, you can set up like a logic sequence type thing. So you can send it out to your whole list, and you can say, hey, look, if you've taken part in Train My Traffic before, I'd love a quick testimonial from you. And it's on their phone, and all they do is they hold up their phone, press record, and it sends it to you, basically. And you can have it so it's like, right, you've only got 30 seconds to say whatever you want to say, and they can re-record and re-record and re-record if they want to. But it means that you get like loads of video testimonials from people, just coming in, very easy for the user to do it. But you could just get them to say like, right, you've got 10 seconds to think about your 10-second statement and go for it. What would you say? Because then you can just back these up constantly with like loads of people just saying snapshots, like short sound bites that just sound amazing for you. And you can stick them all in the end of the videos as well.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, so that was your click-through rate. I know it's been long so far, so I'm going to move it along quite quickly. But here's what we can do with your video. So we want to try and improve your view rate as well. Like, so we don't want to get too much engagement, but we don't go too little that no one's watching. So we want to get that target to be around about 20 to 25%, if it's all possible. We've done everything we can think of to try and influence that number. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to predict, like how to keep engagement at the right level. It's not easy to do that. So how do you get that great view rate, like a great balance? What we do is we structure the ad in this way. So we pay at 30 seconds, and we found that at 1 minute, 2 minutes 20 is the optimal time for a video ad on YouTube. Not like, you can have 10-minute ads that work really well, 30-second ads that work really well. It's not necessarily like a really like hard rule, but just as a bell curve, we did an analysis of all of our ads, and we found that like 2 minutes 20 was like, seemed to be a sweet spot where we got really good results with. The first 5 seconds, we have to call out the demographic. Like, if you can call out demographic, you can do that on YouTube, and you can do before and afters on YouTube, by the way, as well. That's always a nice one for people to realize. But you can kind of call out what they're looking for. Like, if you know their search intent, that's going to be a bit easier. And for you, I think it's going to be pretty easy, Molly. We can talk about looking to run Facebook ad campaigns. Then before 20 seconds is up, you actually want to do the early call to action. So you want to tell people, this is an ad, and here's what you're going to do. So you do two things. One, people that don't want to see an ad, fine, they skip ad, great. They're not going to go past 30 seconds. We didn't want them anyway. That's fine for us. And it's done elegantly. The second thing is you change the mindset of someone from pure curiosity of like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to learn here. That pure curiosity piece, you're changing it to, all right, then convince me. And that's what you want. So it's like the in-store shopper is talking to the rep, and the sales rep is saying, okay, so let me kind of get you inspired by all the products we have, and this is the one you really want, and now I'm going to convince you why. And so you change that mindset to convince me as quickly as possible, as opposed to, oh, I'm just curious at this point. And so you want people in that mindset, because now they're considering clicking and going to buy your product. Then you got the core content, which is like the educate. So when I say core content, all of this is educate, but it's just like the wherever you can fit all of this, like first 5 seconds and before 20 seconds into the script, just add it into the script you create. And then at the end, we're going to have the call to action here. So like we discussed earlier. Now, in order to kind of control this view rate, it's not easy. So We go for a modular method. So if we just turn it on its head for a second, just 'cause it's easier to showcase. What we'll do is we'll actually create multiple intros, first 30-second versions. I've put 5 here. You could do 2 or 3 or whatever. We could just do 1 if you really want. But if this is where, like, you know, when we were like killing our darlings earlier, when you thought of really good ideas and they go,
These
oh,
are
I'm not too
these are
sure.
your hooks, guys, like the way we talked about the ad copy module.
Yeah, precisely. So you do your hooks would be the first 30 seconds, and then you'd have like the second 30 seconds, and you'd lead them all into that second 30 seconds, and you'd see which one works best for what targeting. So it just gives you variations,
I love it.
and that kind of like just allows you to split test a little bit without like being
Going
a
crazy.
completely different video sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then what you can
And
do is yeah, go for
Tom,
it.
that's exactly what we do with Boom's Facebook video creatives. Like I said earlier, those are usually split into 3 sections, which Ezra talks about in the creative module, as you guys know. And mostly what they're doing is just switching out the first section, like the all of the women that I showed you guys, right? Like, the end of the video is pretty much always the same. They're just creating different variations of the beginning so that they have more options for scale. So it's like the exact same concept, which is really cool and makes sense.
Love that. Yeah, that's so
Hey,
cool.
Tom, really quick, what was the name of the remote video testimonial app that you mentioned?
Oh, videoask.com. It's not for testimonials, but it can be used for testimonials really effectively. So videoask.com. Like literally the best tool on the internet for marketers, I think. Like undiscovered one. Cool. So you've got these intros here, and then you've got the second section of the videos as well. And I would say like create a few of those if you want to as well. You just need to be a little bit careful about where you stitch in, so to speak. So you need to make sure they kind of like they flow into each other carefully. So that's why we have that structure to be like, right, you might go for the you might do Adu, so that ADU of educate as these first 30-second intros, and then the Kate of educate, so CATE, you might have like the second half of the video. So you can build your credibility, your action plan, your teach, and your exit. You do like a couple of variations of that, but then you want to just change the intros to talk about different pain points and like letting them know you understand them and that type of thing. So you kind of like can just keep on shifting that around. But it's so easy then to then just create loads of different intros. If you know you've got the second piece, like the message is right and it's converting well, all you need to do, Molly, is just say, great, I just need to create loads of these different intros to start with. I never have really fatigue, and I've just got the message right every single time. So it becomes like an evergreen process to always have new creative, which is quite cool.
Great.
Cool. And then that means you can chop and change them as well. So you can have like, that'll be 15 different combinations of ads where you only had like an afternoon to do the shoot, for example. It's really that simple. So it's quite helpful. And that brings me to the end of this section. I know we're going to go a little bit into the actual building out the campaigns next week, but I think we've got the most of what we need for the brainstorming of the video ad. Do you feel like you've got what you need to kind of put this all together somewhat and then gain inspiration from VidTower as well?
Yeah, definitely. And Tom, if you just send me the notes that you took, then I can finalize a script and get that shot. And then, yeah, in the next few weeks, guys, before the training ends, we'll hop back on with Tom and set up the campaign. And that's where we can talk about things like targeting and just more tactical, structural stuff when it comes to YouTube. But as you guys know, like this is where the magic happens. If the video ad isn't good, none of the rest of it matters. So wow, yeah, Tom, this was really awesome and such a fun process. And I feel like, yeah, my YouTube ads would have been very different starting off if we didn't go through this process together. So I'm excited to see how they do.
Nice. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to build this with you. And we're just going to like play around in the ad campaigns and get it working.
We get to work together, do fun stuff, and record it and turn it into a business. So I would say we're pretty lucky. And thanks, thanks to everybody listening. Tom, do you have a few minutes to take a few questions?
100%. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Is there a time limit for ads on YouTube? What is the recommended length?
No time limit. You can be as long as you want, I believe. I haven't run anything more than 15 minutes before, but I have heard of people running their whole webinar on a YouTube video. So I think it goes long. I don't think you have any, I think you can use any video on YouTube as an ad. So then it doesn't have a time limit. Well, actually, yeah, for all intents and purposes, there's no time limit. But I think you have to kind of like, if you're starting off a brand new channel, you can only upload 15-minute videos max or something until you have 100 subscribers or something. So there would be sometimes a limit. But then the ideal length we've tested is 2 minutes 20. That's kind of the ideal length. That is for the Educate formula. So that's how condensed to put it into pieces, into it. But don't waffle if you can avoid it, and try and be concise. So don't be like, okay, well, it comes in at 1 minute 30. I need to add in an extra 50 seconds here. Don't do that. Yeah, just do it like to the best of your ability. Keep it concise, and if it comes in a little bit less time, that's fine too.
Awesome. What tool makes the best YouTube video, and what tool makes a pretty good video with low or no cost?
Tools wise, there's a lot of tools out there that create video ads. We don't use a ton of them.
Yeah, I think that's more of a video editing question than like a YouTube question, probably.
Yeah, I think like so we use, Robin in our team uses Premiere Pro, and then we use Final Cut as well. So 2 different platforms for different types of editing. But to be honest, I'm actually not too sure. Like, best job there is work with an editor to get it done. I know that a lot of people like try and bootstrap it somewhat. I would say that like this is the one time where it's worth just investing a couple of $100s to get it done right, because if it works, you're going to be wanting to spend money on it, and if it doesn't work, you'll be like, it's not working. But like, if it was just that $200, it would have made it work. It's amazing sometimes how just 1 or 2 edits to a video can make such a profound difference. I mean, you look to those like endings that we put together with the countdown timers, things like that can just make or break a campaign. So it's worth putting a bit of effort into it for sure. And you can always use it as a Facebook ad as well. It's not like you have to just use it for YouTube. You can use it on both platforms.
Awesome. I have a script that Teresa wrote. Would you mind if I read it to you?
This sounds like a beautiful thing. Go for it.
Okay. So this is for a nature-inspired jewelry line.
Okay.
All right. You are a nature lover, an art lover, someone who likes unique items, things that you don't see everywhere. You want to express your own style, a style that is handcrafted, a style of natural materials. We at Nature Reflections are the same. We wanted to express ourselves with jewelry that creates conversation and reflects our love of nature, that is artistic and beautiful, and most of all, unique. Insert testimonial. Perfect for wearing day to day, since our jewelry is made from fine sterling silver with real gold plating. Come and explore jewelry that is just as unique as you are.
Okay, so the difficulty for me didn't jump out there like too much. I know it sounds weird to be like, well, what is the difficulty? I think like as soon as you know what the aim is, like, so it's going to be difficult to do dialogue between them and us on the call. But I think that one thing I'll be thinking is like, what's the thing that makes them want nature-inspired jewelry? Like, what is that? Now, if
like we haven't really touched on the pain point, is that what you're saying, Tom?
A little bit, but I don't think like so. Okay, so it can sound really crass how I put it sometimes, because I'm an advertiser and I see things sometimes that I'm like, that's what it is. Most of the time when we're kind of like talking about what people want, it comes down to they say they want one thing, but they actually want something else. And the thing they actually want, if they're open up to it, they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's actually quite true, but it's not necessarily the most nicest thing to reveal about yourself. So so let's say, for example, I want to speak on stage at an event or something like that. I give myself the excuse of like, well, it's great for business. And I know that maybe 70% of me is like, well, I want to look really cool. I want to be on stage. And I want everyone to really respect me. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the bit that I don't want people to hear, right? So,
And you'd probably grow your business more if you stayed home.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But I want to feel great. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's me. But it happens with everything, right? Any products, any service, people are buying because
It's
the
ego.
status.
It's
Yeah, it's
it's
ego, it's status. And it's like,
yeah.
I want to be seen as this person. So someone wants to wear this jewelry so they can be seen as this person caring for the environment, whatever it is. Like they want to be seen to be a certain type of person. So you want to let people like if we start there, we can't obviously
Yeah.
say that clearly to people.
But the
But
jewelry is like an expression of values and beliefs, like you're saying, Tom. And it's,
mm,
what's interesting, Tom, I'll send you this training on avatars that Russ did, because a part of it is about figuring out the value set of your audience, which is kind of what you're talking about here. And I think that's so true. I didn't mean to cut
mm.
you off, but it's like, it's kind of like the value, like expressing the values that they align with is why they would buy this jewelry, is kind of what you're saying, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So they want to wear the jewelry to show other people this is who they are, that this is their identity, which again sounds like it's not a very nice way of phrasing it, but it's just the truth. That's just how it is. And we buy things to, like, especially with jewelry, it's a very public show of who we are, so to speak, and that's important. Like if I'm going to buy a watch, I have to buy the watch that fits my status. Like too fancy, and my family will be like, "Oh, Tom's gone all fancy on us," and not fancy enough, and my clients will be like, "Oh, he." If I'm wearing like a real cheap Casio or something like that, it's either a statement of how cool I am, or it's a statement of I don't have any money. It's going to be one of the two they make up in their own mind. But I'm thinking about that when I'm buying a watch. I'm not thinking about like how much I like the watch so much. I want that to be a factor, but I've first of all got to choose that one that is okay for my social status. And that's what's the driving force, is that I want to stay safe within my community. I still want to fit in with the right people around me. That's why people buy lots of watches, because they have different types of people they hang around with. And so when you're kind of thinking about the jewelry business, then especially when that jewelry's got a slant to it, you're appealing to someone's personality. And one thing I would definitely try and do in the ad as well is showcase the types of people that are buying this, because one thing in marketing that I think we all know is like, it's the core message sometimes like, people like us do things like this. So if you showcase the people like us and you say, you're one of us, you belong to this group, do things like this, we buy jewelry like this. Like people like us, people that care for the environment, people like this, we do this because it's our show of like, this is who we are to other people. So you can pull that into your approach here, Molly, as well. Like people that really do well on Facebook, like, and have consistency, like us, people that are like in the smart marketer community, people like us, we do Facebook advertising like this. I said, oh, okay, I want to do it like that then. I want to be in your community, and therefore, how do I behave in your community? Just show me and I'll do it, type thing.
Yeah, Tom, what would you think if she said something like, something that is your identity, personal, and a reflection of someone who loves the environment, who honors Mother Earth?
So I wouldn't say the word identity in that, but that's exactly it. Yeah, you want to allude to it, let them make up their own mind that it's they're choosing that identity.
Yeah, that's definitely exactly the direction I think that you are going, Tom. And she says she is very, very grateful, Teresa.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, like, so I'd be like, most jewelry that like doesn't inspire them, let's say, that's the difficulty. Other jewelry out there, even if it's the most fashionable high-end thing, it's not inspiring to you. You're not that sort of person.
Yeah, and I also think, Teresa, I also think because I'm your avatar in a way, another hook that you could try, especially on the front end, is women who don't wear jewelry because most jewelry they see, it doesn't inspire them, you know, or it's not made of materials that you feel good about or that you want on your body. And your audience is very aware of that. So those could be some other hooks to talk to too. And then it's like, you know, this feels authentic to wear, because those are more of my struggles when it comes to jewelry. And that's why you know, I wear very little of it, but what I do wear is high quality and means something. So I think there are a lot of women out there like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really delicate balance with this type of thing, because I was just thinking there, like recently there's been so many conspiracy theories jumping around about everything with what COVID and all that sort of stuff. And the reason people love having like a controversial point of view and talking about it is not because it's like they've got data and fact about the difference of opinion of how they think about things. It's because they want to tell people so they look different, and they are out. They kind of like they get their status from that opinion. And if you were to, like, let's say, oh, actually, yeah, you're completely right, I completely agree with you, you kind of almost like take their power away. They're no longer different to everybody else. They've got like they don't mind a follower, but like if you kind of agree with them, it's difficult. I'm kind of going off track here a little bit, I realize. But what we're doing is like the behavior we all have and the actions we all take are deep rooted within our status and where we sit in the environment. And we want to show people who we are all the time and where we fit in and how we belong and who we don't belong
And
to and things.
especially in what you wear, you know, jewelry is such an expression of that. And
Exactly.
your audience is so in tune with that. You know, they understand that. They aren't buying jewelry because it's a status thing in terms of like price point, or whoa, she has the latest, like Kendra Scott would be something like in Austin. Like that's what the jewelry designer everyone was talking about there. And I was so turned off by that because, you know, I want something more unique like you're talking about. So I think speaking to those pain points, and yeah, like you said, Tom, it's such an expression of who you are. And I think especially your audience knows that. So
Yeah, and
wow, Tom,
I might
two
just on to
hours,
that last piece
15
on that.
minutes.
Yeah, just
Oh, go
one
ahead.
more thing on that I might just say is like it might be better, instead of like trying to do a brand positioning piece, which is like, now come and explore all our jewelry. You might want to choose one piece that you really
One
highlight,
piece.
because it's going to be
Yeah.
a lot easier to convince people to be like, they'll either say, I love that, I want to buy it, or they'll be like, I love where you're going with this. I don't love that piece, but I'm going to come into your website and check it out anyway. You want to give them that like call to action to be very much more like specific. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit. It doesn't carry as much power. Like there's certain pieces of jewelry
Yeah,
that I
same.
know that like pull that. Get for money.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Or just your best sellers. It's like with
Mm.
Boom, it's why we use the Trio stick as the entry point offer, because it's a novel product that most people have never seen before. A stick of makeup that you can use on your lips as blush, as eyeshadow. It's a really interesting offer. And so that's, you know, I definitely think that's worth thinking about, Teresa, if you have a bestseller or a signature piece. Very similar to how I think Anne in the group pulled out her pearl bracelet as a real focus for Mother's Day, because that really felt like a good fit there. I agree, Tom.
Mm. That's nice, yeah. And yeah,
Okay.
and yeah. Sorry, we can go on forever. I'll
He
leave
was
it there.
gonna
So you say like,
he was gonna highlight her coneflower pendant that I designed. Awesome. Yeah,
oh,
if you feel like that is most related to this audience and it sounds very unique, I love that. All right, guys. Well, just another minute. If you have any other questions, there's still a good amount of you on for us being at almost 2.5 hours. Tom, thank you. This is fun. I know this is long, guys, but this is what it takes. Like this is very over the shoulder. As you can see, we're going through this process in front of you. And I know that's what you guys like. And this stuff takes time. And Tom, this information has been invaluable. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Teresa says this has been awesome with big hearts. And I've got some homework and I need to figure out, Tom, really quick before we go. You know, I'm in a situation right now where I don't have my office because of everything going on. I don't really have access to like good video equipment right now. I mean, I will whenever I go back to New York and see Ezra, or if I get a setup here quicker. Like, what route would you go for me to actually, like, I'm not worried about the script. I know that will be pretty easy for us, but me shooting this video, I mean, the video guys on the team can edit it. I'm not worried about that either. That piece. It's just more about me getting the footage of, face to camera.
Yeah, so I'd say that embrace the fact that you're at home or whatever, because I think that's going to resonate with the people at this time anyway. I mean,
So it's okay
yeah,
to still be kind of native, is what you're saying.
yeah. I to a certain extent, I would still film it at a very high level. So I would look to try and get like you can probably buy in a camera that's like it doesn't have to be top of the range, but like a good DSLR type camera. And
Send me a
then
few options and I'll post them in the post them in the TMTP group if you have time, Tom.
yeah, cool. Okay, perfect. So,
If
and
you
then
have that, don't go out of your way, but if you've got some favorites.
I've got something from somebody else that I trust that's very good. But like you can get something a good camera, then you can like plug it into what's called a cam link, and it films directly into your computer without using a chip. And man, it's so useful. You get everything done, and you can even do it so it's like a little station. So like you can all be hooked up, and then you just move it around, and then you can film wherever you are. It's got a light attached to it. It's got your
Oh, cool.
kind of like camera there, and then it all feeds into a laptop, and then you literally just like you don't even have to take anything out of the camera or anything, and then it's simply because it's on your laptop, and then you just send it off to somebody. It speeds up the whole process so much easier. So yeah, I'll find the links for it and I'll send them across to the group and stuff. That's no problem.
Cool. Awesome, Tom. Well, thank you guys so much. Cool. Eric just sent over a link to, I think, what you were just talking about. He said to get camera feed straight to your computer. Awesome, Eric. This is definitely next step. I'm actually moving to a new apartment soon, which I'm excited about. And the qualification was this one is that I would have an office at home and be able to set up a little video studio. So I'm really I'm diving more into this. It's not my forte. Okay, guys, thank you so much, Tom. I will keep you in the loop about getting this video shot. And as soon as we have this asset and we're ready to set things up, we'll set up another live training for you guys and we'll be on to part 2. So thanks, Tom. Thank you to everybody who showed up live, to everyone who's watching this recording. If you have any questions, feel free to tag me and Tom in the Facebook group. Happy to help as always. And yeah, thanks again, Tom.
No worries, mate. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone else for your input as well. It's been very helpful. So yeah, very cool.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.